All right. Good morning. Good morning. All right, girls. Hello. I'm here. I am queer. Oh, did I even link my stream on Discord? Hi. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All I wanted was you. Oh. Already on my saved later list whenever it goes live. Oh, I'm already there. All right, so lots to talk about, girls. Lots to talk about. First, happy to have you here as usual. We're starting off with exciting topics. Oops. And also, shout out to everyone who watched my video yesterday. It got a lot of good feedback. Also, we're going to talk about it a little bit today, but the dilemma is, oh, I'm too bright today, aren't I? Is the sun too bright? It is, huh? I think it's too bright. Is it too bright? Yeah, look, I'm so washed out. I forgot to close the curtains a little bit. Summer's here. So yesterday it was like raining, and Croatia's very rainy, not rainy. And then I had the blinds open too much because I was trying to get some sun in the room, but I realize now I think I'm ghosted out. Is it good? I don't know. Okay, if it gets really weird, the problem is like the clouds will shift and then all of a sudden the sun shifts. This is why you're supposed to use fake lighting. Because the fake lighting, you know, doesn't have shadows, I suppose. But okay, let me know if it gets crazy, because sometimes I do watch my streams back to check on the product, and I'm like, but anyways, okay, yes, this is natural light. Sign me up for the Met Gala. Just kidding. I wouldn't go if you paid me. Okay, now, I have two main stories I want to cover. They don't really relate, though there's some overlap for sure. I just want to remind everybody that we're people and people have feelings, and sometimes those feelings get hurt, you know? I really think it's so valid that streamers, creatives, artists, neighbors, people, that we exist in a world where we create something and it can hurt our feelings when people reply and when people make statements and when it feels personal. And I think that sometimes we do feel very connected to our work, and so it can feel like a personal attack. I also think we live in a world where we talk about criticizing people and holding people accountable, and sometimes we don't know how to do that. I saw somebody write on Elliot Singh's chat in regards to the Duthie situation that a lack of criticism is fascism. And I think that's actually the part of this that I think is the most important. That if we do not allow criticism to exist, especially in leftist spaces, that you create a sort of very fascistic social expectation of behavior. I feel it right now. I transparently feel a slight pressure to pull my punches because so many YouTubers showed up in my chat yesterday in my YouTube comments that I have to remind myself that I am not meaning to punch my fellow coworkers, but instead to speak as kindly and honestly as I can about the criticisms I might have of their work. And I think FD in his response to the Duthie stuff said it perfect, that when you talk about people, it's very hard to do it with care. And so I just want to say, you know, yesterday you guys asked me to watch Taylor Lorenz's video, and I said something like, I hope Taylor doesn't piss me off. And then Taylor Lorenz was leaving me a comment about my vegan video, and I was like, fuck. Like, you know, she probably didn't even see that, but we're going to go over her video today. And when I say things like, I hope Taylor doesn't piss me off, what I mean to express is, I hope this person who makes content that I generally respect doesn't say something that makes me want to unsubscribe. Because even though I'm not obligated to stay a fan, sometimes it can be frustrating when people you like say stuff or collab with people or exist in a space that gets you annoyed. And at the same time, like, I really like a lot of what Taylor does. And also, like, Taylor and I can agree on animal cruelty, and we can agree on a lot of things. And we can also be coming from very specific perspectives. Like today, we'll be talking about Taylor Lorenz's exploration into the 62 million. And I'm going to already tell you, we're probably going to be coming from this from a very different perspective as I talk about personal ethics and philosophy. And Taylor is a journalist who talks about technology. So we have to consider that when listening to her opinions, right? I also want to say that when it comes to criticizing fellow creators, Taylor does a really good job in this video here, criticizing Joshua, that she's a fan of, Josh, who's interviewing Natalie Wynn. And this is just like an example I want to give you, right?
They're kind of doing it already with TikTok.
Yeah.
Like
I'm so confused. I think Josh is like right. By the way, I love Josh. Okay, this is not like Josh hate. He's great, but like, what is he talking about?
Right. And then Taylor goes on and goes, oh my gosh, like I love Josh, but I gotta call him. I gotta stop him. This video, no, like, you know, because Taylor is very passionate about what she believes in, right? So, you know, when Duthie makes her video, and none of us really, I don't know, offense to Duthie, I didn't know who she was before this, right? And it's not even about her now. Did you notice that none of us are actually talking about Duthie? Because I don't think anyone's really heard of her in our space until now. That now what we're talking about is how people we do know reacted to Duthie. And so this is like your family drama, right? But it actually is a testament to how hard it is to get along with people. So then Mark, who was the most offended and the only one that I made, I think, a concerted effort to say bad things about Duthie, made a video about it. He came into my chat yesterday and he said, I think we should disband Congress and replace it with National Assembly of Duthinators and Insco Truthers. I didn't even know how to interact with that comment, but this is a real person. Like he did get his feelings hurt. He said that. He said, like, it feels personal. I wish he had said, hey, Duthie, your video feels personal. I feel attacked, but I don't know what that means. Like now I can't interact with a comment. He has socially put me in an awkward situation in which I think he is attempting to make a joke that doesn't make any sense for the criticism of the body of work that I produced. And then, of course, then in contrast, you have fucking FD Signifier out here writing a novel in my comment section so beautifully, like listening to every section, taking it apart, like really detailed responses. And the video wasn't even about him. The video highlighted him, but he was so in the small the one criticism I have of FD, he said, I'll look into it. He said, I'll check on that. But Mark just made a weird joke. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, girly, we're giving you a chance. We're literally saying, hey, Mark, like, be a part of the crew. Take a criticism. Let's do it. Now, I was also on Michael Burns. I was in his chat yesterday. Michael Burns even showed up in my chat and said, hey, no wonder you already had so many helpful thoughts on this one locked in earlier. Yeah, because I'd already done my stream. Then I went to Michael Burns' chat and was in his stream. And I was talking about the health of the community because Michael really wants to build real community. He wants to build a real life community. Michael is trying so hard to do something so tangible. And I think that's beautiful. Wait, did I say Mark? Michael. Michael is trying to build something so beautiful and tangible. And then Mark, I think the problem with the Marks of the world is I don't think they're trying to build community, which is why respectfully, the criticism of Mark's work is that it is produced for income rather than artistic community focus, right? So, okay, let me show you. So, so Mark's content, again, great views, obviously has like, you know, look, he says, lower your standards, subscribe to Mark. And then he goes, full-time hater commentary on the culture, which is fine, right? And then he made this video.
Okay.
Which is fine, okay? And, you know, like, again, this is fine. Like, this is fine. You can do this. This is good. Like, expressing yourself, all that is good. The issue is that because these community people, I think they're more here to make friends than they are to make content, which is different than when Taylor Lorenz, who's a journalist, goes on Hutch's channel, who I would never collab with to save my life, goes on Hutch's channel to defend her article about dark money in the Democrat Party, right? Which I think it was very well done, or in the influencer space, which I think was very well done, and I really liked Taylor's piece on that, right? So I think that's very different. So then what happens is, and this is the dilemma, we're all talking about each other, but we're not all doing the same thing. Mark is over here making haha content, haha, right? So Mark is like, why don't they like me? And I'm like, huh? Okay, Duthie's over here making like think pieces. All right, think piece, okay. Okay, this is Duthie. Okay. FD's over here doing streams. Oh, this is really bad typing. streams and essays, which I guess like the essay doesn't really matter here. He's making stream commentary. Okay, Michael's over here trying to build a community. Okay, he's trying to build a community. And then I'm over here trying to bring it all together to talk about philosophy. But you see how somehow we're all connected? Oh, yeah. And then there's Taylor. Oh, yeah. Hey, Taylor. What's up? Right? It's like, this is the thing that I want people to understand. Oh, yeah. And then over here, there's Chad, who, by the way, is going through something really personal and difficult right now. So everyone leave Chad alone. You know what I mean? So this is the thing, is like, if Mark hadn't commented, then none of us would be talking about him. We'd all just be talking about Doothy. The reason that video is making the rounds is because they tried to silence Doothy, which he is saying did not happen, right? His argumentation is that that is not true, that they did not try to silence Doothy. But girlies, if you are talking about her in a group chat and she gets wind of it, or somebody DMs her to say, hey, can you take down the video or change the thumbnail? Now you are doing too much. And now, well, how is she supposed to feel except feel, you know, kind of ganged on, right? Like, imagine if I found out, I don't know. I mean, I guess I have had this experience. I have literally had the experience where bigger YouTubers blamed me for getting negative reactions from the audience when I got people's consent. I don't know why people are upset. When I asked for clarification, I was ghosted. So the rumor behind the scene is that like Brittany made XO person's life harder. And I was like, what did I do? And when I asked, they were like, okay, I'll call you later. We'll talk about it. And then I never heard from them again. That person was Natalie Wynn. That's what I'm saying. So then that's the thing. So you know how FD is on Nebula and then loves Lindsay Ellis? Lindsay Ellis was the woman who started that rumor. And Natalie Wynn confirmed it to me, told me she would talk to me about it. This was years ago. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm processing for you. I don't care about any of this. None of this matters, right? But it does matter because it's not going to stop happening. The fact that I have personal experience with it is why I tell you I'm very cautious about collaborations now. And then the whole Destiny fiasco a few years ago was another example of this, where I was like, girl, is there any way for community to come together without any of this mess? And this falls into the Michael Burns of it all and the J-Reg of it all and all these men who are trying to, and all these people who are trying to create like truly like in real life community, but then who's the community with and what are the rules and how do we all get together and what does that mean? So I love it. Like, I do love the attempt at making community. I love it. But it feels like every time we get into these spaces, we have to have the foundation of it being healthy, informed consent, and not just like, you know, oh, hey, like if I'm trying to think of a situation where if somebody asked me, like, hey, Britt, do you want to be part of this like group chat? Honestly, at this point in my life, probably not. Like, unless I knew every single person in that group chat personally, and we had a good, a good, safe relationship, like probably not. Even though that comes at the expense of me because networking is everything. Michael Burns talked about this yesterday, and he's right, by the way, that the reason a lot of the right-wing people or a lot of the people do very well on the internet is because they collab and they collab and they collab. Pokimane, who had the audacity to come on stream and say, eat the rich, just did a collaboration with Mr. Beast. Huh? Eat the rich? The man is a billionaire, right? We talked about the Met Gala, right? There were people there who absolutely were not rich, but were standing next to rich people, and that boosts their resume, right? It boosts their status. Me having YouTubers in my chat makes people go, oh, Brittany knows these YouTubers. Oh, okay, I respect a lot of these people's work. And this is the social reality of this, which is why FD said Mark was wrong for acting like it wasn't crazy to have access to these group chats, because you know, it's one thing to reject them on purpose, and it's one thing to never have access to them. So you know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, there's a safety factor that goes into this. These bigger YouTubers might feel threatened by smaller YouTubers, and that's why they don't want to platform them or give them attention, right? Which is why my whole criticism of Hassan was he, like, again, when engaging with content creators, makes very specific decisions to avoid uplifting very specific voices, and it only engages with specific people, and it's usually cloud driven and or like, oh, I don't want to like small creators clout instead of thinking about the consequence of throwing like people under the bus in any capacity who might be victimized by whatever's happening in the culture, right? This plays into the N-word use from Rami, right? Zoran's wife, and it plays into everything that we've been covering. Okay, now let me do this. Hold on. Let me pull this. Oh, did my internet leave? No, my Discord just reset in front of me. It looked like the end of the world just happened on my screen. Okay, let me show you this because I think this is the point I'm trying to make here. Because again, like, listen, I'm a person. I'm really not trying to like cause an issue. I really like the conversations around this because I think it's what my work ultimately is inspired by. Like, the reason I love philosophy, guys, is because it really started to help me answer these questions about why these things were happening. I didn't understand them. Like, I was truly so good faith. I'm always good faith when I come into spaces. So I also accidentally end up in situations where I'm kind of being, I don't want to say taken advantage of, but kind of. Like, I never in my life would have imagined that Natalie and Lindsay would have done that. I never in my life would have imagined that like any of these YouTubers I've ever met over my life would have done that. Because I'm like, why would you do that? I just don't get it. I've never done that to somebody. Like, I've never, you know what I mean? And even when I have, if any capacity similar, I have either been haunted by it for years or apologized or tried to do right by it, because we all make social mistakes. We all do things that are wrong. We all make action that is wrong. The issue is that it is happening and will happen again. The question is, when is it going to stop? So check this out, because I think this plays into it, right? Because the art is personal, the work is personal, and yet it is also a conversation about ideas. Someone left a comment and said, hey, I've been listening to Elliot and now Brittany, and there is this thing in this story, among others, that bothers me. It's the word slop. It started as a very offensive and dehumanizing term, or dehumanizing, becoming widely used to describe AI content. The most brain dead, low effort, exploitative. And it was mostly used by anti-AI people, art community in particular, the bubble where I learned about it. Then I assume when everyone and their parents started using it, it lost some intensity and became lighthearted, ambiguous, and even ironic, which is basically a life cycle of a niche word. At some point, pro-AI or AI-neutral crowds started using it too, reclaiming it and blurring its meaning even further, question mark. But it happened so fast, I'd say there's no consensus right now on how offensive it is and what it should or should not be applied to. For me, it's extremely not neutral. If someone called anything I create slop, there's no way I'd take it as a valid good faith critique with engaging with. I mean, I'd probably make an effort to be polite anyways, but it would have the same effect of being called a B word or hysterical. See, that is so interesting to me. That's a very self-aware but facet. Like, I couldn't even imagine having this relationship with the word slop, but fair, right? So maybe that's how Mark felt. Maybe that's how Mark felt, right? I would not accept this word as a fair description or even a quick doodle I draw, even less something that took hours to make. You can call it low effort, or even that won't be true. The effort was not low. It was just the result. It's just that the result is not up to your liking. So while I agree, everything is a chance to reflect on yourself and what you do in the world. Any critique is food for thought, but also a bully will sometimes call you, put an offensive here. You don't just humble yourself because there's a valid point. There might be a valid point, but also you were offended and then suggested not to feel the way you feel about the offense. I don't like this lane. We can all be more mindful with words, I think. Okay. So here's what happens. So here's what happens. Okay. I'm not opposed to anything that was said, generally. I would say, though, the issue is when you have a space that has people fighting systems of oppression, and then you have spaces where people are talking about interpersonal relationships with their besties, the way we have conversations will be different. When we cover Taylor Lorenz later, we will have to understand that she is coming from a policy journalistic perspective, and I will be coming from a philosophical interpersonal relationship perspective, ethics and morals individually. That means that when people review content or talk about or use words, we have to consider where they're coming from. So if I watched a red pillar review my content and they said, she's so stupid, just like every woman I know, I'm going to tune them out. I'm not going to respond to them unless I want to ride that for clout. okay? Or for money, because you can make a lot of money doing that, and hey, maybe it's worth it, right? Drew Afawalo makes a really good living doing that kind of stuff, which is her niche, and it's really cathartic, and I have no problem with it, okay? She's not punching down or something. Okay, when you're in a space that is commentary, that is popular, and also you're associated with the good guys, the issue is that a lot of people get a lot of social credit for simply existing in a space, doing the bare minimum, while the marginalized people they say they care for are literally fighting unhoused situations, mental health, lack of job security. And it can feel sometimes like you are getting all of the social credit for simply being an ally versus actually being a marginalized person. This is also the main criticism against Hassan, where Hassan is, yes, a minority in very particular ways, but is also everything white supremacy and patriarchal systems means to uphold. And he makes capitalism look good while fighting it. Because he's exactly what people on the right will say the American dream is. A man who speaks his mind freely, who is not deplatformed, who is paid millions of dollars to show up in the body he does, with the voice he has, the name he has, and he exists on this platform and every platform in a way that benefits the system. So he's not actually being counter, right? Versus if you take somebody like Alok, who is one of my favorite people, who's been on The Daily Show, who's very successful in their own right. Alok is not the one being platformed by the left, right? Alok is too unique looking. They're non-binary. They're very radical. They're not interested in playing some game. Hassan's whole thing is that he's the Joe Rogan of the left, and or that he is a typically masculine person who can appeal to these boys who might be radicalized. Exactly. So if Hassan is going to be comfortable enough, or he's going to be a person who these people are comfortable with, then that means not to his social credit that he's so well liked, instead that he is willing to let them maybe get away with things, because if he calls them out too much, then nobody will be his friend, right? So there's a part of this that I think is interesting, because you also can't be another side of the coin where you get along with nobody and you're just a cranky person and everybody sucks. Okay, well, we don't want those people either, right? So let's good faith conversation, guys. Those people don't matter. Nobody wants to be friends with somebody who's always negative, okay? That's different than trying to build a community with people that are going to be safe, right? That's different. So when we talk about what is slop, I'll tell you this right now. Yes, the word slop is negative, and I think the word slop is actually changing. So if you just Google slop content, look, this is a great video. This is a fantastic, this top video here, amazing video, right? This video, I love him. I love. Okay, the rise of content slop is rooting the internet. Okay, Hank Green, what is slop? Okay, content slop. Okay, look at all these videos, right? Look at all these videos about slop, okay? Look, there's even comedic videos about slop.
Hey, what are you doing?
Just consuming images and sounds delivered via algorithm. I literally can't look away.
You need to wake up and realize you're consuming slop.
Slop?
Slop, like Oink Oink, what piggies eat.
What else is slop?
10-minute video essays talking about YouTuber drama.
Are movies slop?
Could be, sure.
Marvel is slop.
Let's not go crazy, all right? Slop doesn't mean thing I don't like.
Okay.
Slop is something that's low effort to make, not nutritious, and consumed by the masses.
So Marvel is slop.
I shouldn't have even mentioned that.
Sorry, I like using words.
Sure.
I will not resort to hyperbole within the next few years, as indicated by a title change.
Okay.
HBO can't stop producing slop.
I went to the Met and all the art was slop.
Wait, you're calling everything slop too?
I too am influenced by the power of fun, trendy words.
Podcasts are slop.
All of them.
Also movies directed by British auteur Mike Leigh.
What are you reading?
William Faulkner's Intruder in the Dust.
Faulkner slop?
Yeah, it's one of his lesser works, so therefore slop.
I'm starting to wonder if categorizing all media and art as content has made us devalue it, and if calling everything slop is the natural progression of a world that doesn't value art.
That sounded like AI slop.
Says the character in a man carrying slop video.
Hey,
Okay, right? Like there is something very, so okay, this is what my philosophical conclusion has been, that we are both things at the same time. That all of my content is slop and all of my content isn't. That everything
Logan Paul has been
hold on, everything Mr. Beast creates is fucking slop. And everything Mr. Beast creates is high effort and incredibly difficult to produce. And that's why he has, are you ready for this? 400 million subscribers. 400 million subscribers. Every single piece of content this man has ever made has been fucking trash and is an incredibly high effort. It is incredibly expensive. It's incredibly, okay, right? Like it's both things. And I think there's a level of humility we can reach where it is like, yeah, like, okay, there is this AI content that gets made that I really, really like. My brain, when it sees it, I feel like an arrow pierces my body and fresh air gets pulled into my veins when I see it. That is the literal sensation I feel when I see it. I don't go looking for it. I don't search for it. It's just, it comes up on my feed. And the moment it starts, like the very moment it starts, it feels like I get hit in the head and I'm like, oh my God, like this is so interesting, right? But I don't look for it and I don't create it. But that is truly my reaction to this content. Some people would say all AI is slop. Fair, right? Okay. But it is one of those things. Chat says, the way I got a LinkedIn notification yesterday for a Mr. Beast job opening, the way I got an email last night, allegedly from Mr. Beast's team, I don't think it was real. But somebody was like, hey, we're reaching out to YouTubers. We're doing a new video. Like, you have to sign, you know, and I don't know. I don't think it was real, but I've never gotten an email from a Mr. Beast anybody, but allegedly got one last night. I don't know, girl. I ignore these emails with peace and love. DM me on Instagram because I don't trust anybody. And even a DM on Instagram, I get a lot of DMs on Instagram too, and I just ignore them as well. Like, because like, even if it's like a channel with 12 million subbies, I just ignore it unless it's like, depending on who they are. Because like, I just don't know if people understand, like, I'm not here to be in your fucking thumbnail, but that's what Pokimane is doing. Pokimane has the audacity to talk about how billionaires are evil, and she's right here in this fucking thumbnail for Mr. Beast. Girly, why are you collabing with Mr. Beast? Aren't you rich enough? That's what I'm saying. At what point are you not rich enough? And this was the whole Beyonce criticism that Beyonce was getting. Like, we all love Beyonce. No, I will not take Beyonce slander in my chat. I will take Beyonce criticism in my chat, but I will not take slander. Do not talk to me about how she's not even that good. You need to literally kick rocks, okay? She is that good. The question is, at what point were you rich enough to stop playing this fucking game? Because that's what they tell you the dream is. The dream of capitalism, the one they sell you that isn't true, is that if you get rich enough, you can stop playing the game. Okay, then why do none of these people stop playing it? Because they can't. Because the only reason they get that famous is by networking, showing up at dinners with Ivanka Trump or any of the Trump people, actually shaking hands with Jeff Bezos. They can't actually do it because that's the price you pay to be successful. That is the price you pay. So the price, okay, so again, when we go back to Mark's dilemma, is Mark felt like, some of the people felt like, okay, it was hurtful to see Doothy's thumbnail with a bunch of people on it who didn't feel this way about their content. Okay, yeah, chat said, isn't that the idea behind selling your soul? Absolutely. Right? So I'm saying, I just want to talk about it. And also, we don't have to talk about it. Okay? But I think, again, like, it doesn't matter what you call it. Words are meant to express feeling. You know, as I'm learning Croatian, Hrvatski. I'm learning Croatian. And as I learn Croatian, what I'm understanding about this language is there are a lot of sayings that are not meant to be literal, but are meant to evoke emotion. They're meant to convey something. Like, they have random sayings in Croatian that, like, you know, it's like, I can't even think of one right now, but it's always something like, the eye of your mother is the pig of the foot, or something like that. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, like, and it's not the words. So slop is what pigs eat, and slop is like, it's like when people start criticizing your food, like what you eat. Okay, like you eat slop. And people are like, you can't judge me for what I eat. You're lucky I'm even eating today. Yes, within the context, absolutely. But if you're in a specific position in life, you deserve to have more than slop. And also, I'm not gonna, you know, be mad at you for eating slop today. Some days I like to eat slop, and some days I take care to make food in 12 different pans and pots that my partner then has to wash, which I did like yesterday. Okay. But sometimes I just like a little bit of slop. Give me some fucking frozen food and call it a day. You know what I mean? So again, like it's like, stop judging yourself, but you should know what you're doing. Introspection, extrospection requires you to accept and engage in the reality that you are engaging in some level of bad, but that doesn't mean you have to judge yourself for it. But I know the word bad sounds like a judgment, and I'm saying use whatever fucking word you need to use so you don't feel fucking judged, and fucking do better or do less bad. Because if you take your time, never changing because the word isn't quite right, girly, this is why the world is the way it is, because you're busy being like semantics, just be better. Just be better. Okay? Oh, she wasn't a minor. It wasn't a child. I'm not actually a pedophile. She was technically illegal. Stop. Stop playing with fucking words, bro. Just own the fact that you targeted a teenager. You reached out to a kid. You know you're too damn old. You know they were vulnerable. Just fucking stop. You're so busy playing games. Own what you did, call it what it is, and move the fuck on. The question is, the reason I think this, again, the question is, why did Mark even respond? The question is, why did he even leave a comment on my video? One I couldn't even respond with. Like, does he know that? Like, Habibi, if he was my brother, I'd be like, Habibi, what did you want me to say to this comment? Like, this is why you have a sister. So you can be like, hey, should I write this comment on this video? Like, I'm not even mad about it. I just don't know what to do with it. Like, is this my autism? Like, I don't know how to interact. This is like the most social awkward situation I've ever been in. Like, what am I supposed to do with this comment? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, what does this mean? We're having a serious conversation, but you know what it is? He doesn't think it's serious. And to be fair, maybe it's not, but it is more serious than that comment. So then I'm like, why would you do this to yourself? Why would you make yourself look more bad? Because I think there's something in people's brains where they can't help it. Logan Paul is a great example of this. He is right now pissing off all One Piece fans. Shout out to One Piece fans. We love One Piece here. We're big One Piece fans. Okay? Like, watch, just
being accused of LARPing, that is, role-playing as something he isn't, after his sudden interest in the world of One Piece. It all started when he showed cases of One Piece trading cards on stream, leading to allegations of doing so only to make money as a seller, thus raising prices exponentially higher and ruining the fun for people who just want to play the game. After all, he's experienced massive backlash for his participation in the
bragging that I spent $5 million on a card is crazy.
Pokemon TCG market, flaunting expensive cards and consistently buying and selling for ridiculous amounts of money. As a result, he's trying
It's like the people who go to Walmart and buy all the Pokemon cards, and so the kids can't buy them. You guys are weird.
to clear his name by insisting that he's doing it all because he's a huge One Piece fan. However, when pressed on the issue, it has become clear that he's not as invested in the world of One Piece as he claims. Notably, when asked to name a character from the story, he could only name one, and he got it wrong, calling Monkey D. Luffy, Luffy D. Monkey. Then, IShowSpeed, an outspoken fan, tells Logan he doesn't know shit about One Piece after Logan bought the original manga issues for tens of thousands of dollars. Logan responded by photographing himself reading the manga, which seemed performative. Next, Logan went full cosplay and started dropping references like Grand Line and Devil Fruit to show that he knows some things about the story.
Okay, you get the point, right? And then even Mother's Basement was like, we gotta talk about this. Parasites are eating your hobbies alive.
On April 21st, 2026, professional dead body filmer Logan Paul and Monsuno...
You know what I mean? So like, okay, what is Logan Paul doing? He's jumping on a trend that will bring him income. And look, my partner and I, we love One Piece, and we had this conversation the other day. I was like, oh, damn, it's gotten too mainstream. It's gone so ridiculously mainstream that I'm just like, uh-oh. And look, I don't want to be one of those girlies that's like, One Piece is actually like, I like it, and you can't make it go mainstream, but it is, and that's okay. And I'm glad more people are watching it. What I'm actually frustrated by is how many people are watching One Piece and thinking Luffy would like them. Luffy would fucking hate you. Luffy would hate you. Allegedly, Luffy shares a birthday with Karl Marx. Okay? So you need to sit down. Okay, it's one of those things where I think people love One Piece for lots of reasons, and that's okay. But there is a whole group of people that really love One Piece, you know, because they feel it works for them as it speaks to them as minorities. It's about activism. It's about a lot of things. And I, again, will argue with Hassan every day about whether or not Luffy is a quote freedom fighter in a political sense. But what I think One Piece does for a lot of us is it's a work of art. It's a piece of art, though flawed. And yes, I also hate the fan service. And yes, some of those angles on some of those girls is crazy unnecessary. But the story is so amazing and so real and so human that, you know, again, if you watch One Piece and you don't get it, that's fine, girl. I do not care. But it also is one of those things where like One Piece is an amazing story. But that's what art is. Art is something that gets consumed by all kinds of people. People who just like the fighting scenes and people who like the story and people who watch for booba. But the question is, do you know which one you are? Does Logan Paul understand that he is jumping on a trend, right? And that's all I think Duthie was trying to say. And I don't want to speak for her because like, you know, but I think what I got from her video when I watched it was that she was like, hey, just so you know, okay? Because if you're going to like somebody because they like what you like, don't you understand that some people will use that also as a, oh, you need to get out this One Piece train because like people really like it and like you'll get more fans because of it. Just be aware of that, right? I'm not saying that you have to be a One Piece fan. I'm saying I think all Duthie is trying to say is like, hey, I don't think Mark, and based off the way he left that comment in my video, is truly engaging in content in a way that we are, in a way that allows us to have the conversation, in a way that like matches up with our ethics. Okay? Because I don't think Mark is an artist first. I think he's a creator first, which I'm happy for him. I hope he continues to be successful. Right? Okay. I want to show you examples of creators that I either like or have been critical of or like in general that I think plays into this conversation, that I think does like really well short content that does good views. Okay. Love. Edvision, love. Okay. 1 million subscribers. This video got posted 24 hours ago and has 100,000 views. So overnight, he has made possibly $500 to $1,000, maybe. It could be different. We won't know for a few days, right? But think about that. Imagine posting a video that's 13 minutes long, okay, that probably took you anywhere from, I don't know, 10 to 30 hours to make, and it made you $500 minimum. Hey, that's great. I love his content. Like, I really love his content. I watch it a lot, especially when I'm getting ready for stream, okay? So this, right? Look, 13 minutes, 14 minutes. And look, the views are great. The views are amazing. Like, wow. Okay? This is good. Like, this is good. I'm happy with this content. And I do think it is higher level than Mark's content. I think he usually has a really strong premise. He has really good commentary. He usually adds a very, like, specific lens as being Asian. I think he tends to be better research. I really like his content, okay? And I think, like, it's really good. Kara, I always mess up her name. She makes great financial content from a liberal left perspective. She often talks about capitalism and how it sucks, and she's very, like, makes really great content. The only criticism I would have of her content as of late, and this is just so respectfully, is I do think it's about 10% slop. And I do get a little annoyed slightly because I would like to engage in financial content from a left perspective with a little bit more less slop, because there's a lot of financial content I watch that is just like very basic. Somebody's watching and they're going, oh, interesting, which I love. But when it's a left person, I want more commentary about capitalism. Okay. So I like Kara's content. I do think she could put 10% more effort into her content, especially since, I don't know, like, I think she deserves it. I think she deserves to have a bigger following. And I think, like, I would love to see her put in that effort. Okay. Financial Diet, Chelsea Fagan. You know I like Chelsea Fagan's work. You know I'm also very critical of Chelsea. I am also deeply disappointed to find out that with 1 million subscribers and 4 people on staff, they have decided to stop making video essays, which was the bread and butter and heart and soul of her channel. So I'm a little annoyed that feels like you are making a financial decision over an art decision in a situation that didn't need to be this way. So I'm a little frustrated as a viewer that is the case, but I am also glad to see that Chelsea was criticized and she made a 41-minute video taking into consideration the criticism of her audience over AI, which we love to see. See how Chelsea was incredibly dragged in her comments, and she said, okay, let me think about this. Let me come back. Let me make a video. Great job, Chelsea. We love to see it. And I think this will always be the distinct difference between commentators that are maybe just young and inexperienced and or not seriously the adult in the room, and Chelsea Fagan, FD Signifier, me, any of us that have seen people make content about us or drag us in the comments go, okay, hold on, what did I do? Let me look at it. Let me look at it seriously. Versus other creators who burn bridges, dox you, stalk you for 2 years, or harass you with their communities. People who complain. You know what I'm saying? Right? Okay. And this goes along with Taylor Lorenz making this 40-minute video basically talking about how much she disagrees with Josh, even though she really respects him and likes him. I would expect Josh to watch this video and not be offended. I would expect him to say, oh yeah, Taylor's got a point. I didn't know what I was talking about. I literally said in this interview, like, I haven't done enough research. And that's why Taylor's saying, hey, stop talking about stuff that you are admitting you don't know about. Especially since this video, you know, it got a lot of views, his original video with Contra. And now all of those people who watched that video don't know any better, myself included. When the 230 bill came up, I was like, what is this? Like, this isn't my bubble. I'm not like, this is what I do rely on Taylor Lorenz for. Hey girl, tell me what this is. Which, when she goes into it, you realize it's connected to the Heritage Foundation. You're like, uh-oh, red flag, red flag, red flag. So then, okay, you have to realize, like, we can't all be doing everything. So there is a space in the world for Mark's content. There is a space in the world for Taylor Lorenz. There is a space in the world for me. There is a space in the world for all of us, because all of us need to focus on what we're good at, and we need to know our lane. Instead of what we normally do, which is a mistake, which is why Natalie always gets in trouble. She always speaks out of place. What was Jordan Peterson's infamous problem? He always, what is this man talking about climate science for? Why does this man feel entitled to talk about climate science? There is a difference between saying my personal opinion is that I don't care about climate change, or my personal opinion is that I'm deeply concerned with climate change, versus saying I have the data and I know what I'm talking about. So again, one of the things I can promise you moving forward, because I've already done it and I'm doing it, is staying in my fucking lane. If I am asked a question that I'm like, hey guys, you know, honestly, I don't know how to answer this, I'm going to focus on that, because I don't know. I know what my personal opinion is. I don't know what the legal or repercussions to this is. So with that in mind, let's watch the Taylor Lorenz video on the 62 million. And as we go into this video, just remember, there is a difference between the work that I do philosophically and the work that she does as a technology journalist. Okay, she is in, guys, she was at the recent White House dinner, the recent shooting. She was in and around the area. She was at events. She is in courtrooms. She is doing, you know, investigative journalism. Like, she is in it, right? I'm not doing that. So when I speak, I'm only coming from a philosophical perspective. I am not coming from that perspective. That's why we have to listen to Taylor and go, okay, Taylor's like in the bubble. So let's take notes. Okay? That's what we're looking for. Because I don't know. That's not my job. I don't know how to. Okay? So let's take a 2-minute break. And when I come back, we're going to jump into that video. And I bet it's going to be interesting, even if I will passionately disagree with how Taylor is handling it, because I already am going to show you a clip ahead of time to show you why I say that. I respect the fact that she is in her lane. She knows what she's talking about. And even though we're here for different reasons, I'm never going to take away from her the right to speak in her field, in her passion, in her lane. Okay? That's kind of the focus. So shout out to Mark for leaving that comment on my channel. Habibi, I really don't know what to do with it. And I see that you even edited it, probably for grammar. I get that. I miss grammar, everything all the time. I don't know what you wanted me to do with that. So I don't know how to respond to you. I wish you had left me a comment that just said, hey, Britt. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for the feedback. I'll really listen, take it into consideration. I'm seeing a consistent pattern from other streamers. Let me sit with this. And then I could have liked it. And I could have been like, cool, very dope, Mark. Love you. Let's collab. But instead it was, I don't even know what this joke is. He says, I think we should disband Congress and replace it with National Assembly of Duthinators, so from Duthy's community, and Insco Truthers from his community. What am I supposed to do with that, Habibi? Like, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. So do you see right there how he didn't allow community to be built? Even though we gave him, maybe he didn't see it, but I promise you, the door is open. We're offering you a fruit. We're saying, hey, if you would like, you can join, you can hang out. But if you don't want to, that's okay, because apparently he's in a group thread with a bunch of other cool YouTubers. And that's the question. Why are you group over there and why are we over here? And that's really where the question comes into play. What group is he a part of? And isn't it interesting that right now, as of right now, I think he's the only one who's made a formalized video about it. Maybe we'll wait for others to speak up, but that means he really was the most impacted by it, but got defensive and didn't learn anything from it. You know? Right? Chat, why does chat keep saying this? It worries me that someone who's seemingly so sensitive is running for public office. Is that a joke, or is this man actually running for public office? I keep seeing that everywhere. Is that a joke? Is that like an inside joke for his community? Is that like a joke? I gotta Google this. Is this like, I don't get it why people keep saying that. He's actually running in New Jersey? What? He's running for District 11? What? Really? Why? Wait, you can't be serious right now. Are you serious? That doesn't even make any sense. Why? Elliot Sang covered it? Did I miss it on that Elliot Sang stream? Maybe I came in late, but maybe I missed it. I love this video here. He has the restaurant sells food and then puts slop in the title. Love that. Love that. That's so perfect. Really? I don't get it. Like, why it says full-time hater commentary channel? How is he running and it's nowhere on his social media? You know what I'm saying? Am I crazy? Thank you for lowering your standards. Am I missing something? I don't get it. Chat says, don't you hate how you're in Croatia but still can't get away from US politics? Habibi, no. I vote. Yeah, I vote in Arizona. No, I try to stay very much aware of US politics. I'm very bad at it, but I try. But no, I am a citizen. I think it's important. I think it's like, no, I'm not trying to stay away from US politics. That's the point. US politics is impacting Croatia right now. Like, US politics impacts the world, you know? Yeah, no. I know you probably mean that as like a nice joke or something nice, but no, that's what I'm saying. I am not trying to escape my responsibility as a US citizen or as the adults in the room. I am very much not trying to do that, right? And I don't think anyone should be, really, you know? So yeah, I'm sure you meant it lovingly, but I want to make sure people know that, no, I'm very much trying to pay attention, and I understand how overwhelming it is to pay attention. I really do. So be kind to yourself. So yeah? Okay, pause for 2 minutes. I really got to stretch my legs, and I kind of want to make me some decaf. I'll come back in just a second, and we will watch Taylor Lorenz, and we'll have a good conversation about this video, I am sure. And look, shout out to Taylor. She was in my comment section on my vegan video, and she said that she would love to see more leftist people have good faith convos about veganism. Me fucking too. Me fucking too. I would love to see that. I would fucking love to see that. That would be fucking great. I'm waiting. Where are the anti-capitalists talking about our food, sources? I would love it from a vegan perspective or at least a plant-based perspective. I would love to fucking see that. Holy shit, that would make my day. So, shout out to Taylor for leaving that comment because I agree. Okay, I'll be right back. Oh, yeah, and shout out to chat. Says, I've been following you since college. Love that, girlies. Love that. Love that. Really appreciate that. I hope it's been a good ride, honestly. Okay, be right back. All right. So let me tell you this. Pausing 1, 2, 3. You know, now that you guys are telling me that it's true that he's running for office, is this like Trisha Paytas saying they were going to run for office? Because that really pissed me off about Trisha. I also think, like, as much as I like to see Trisha grow and all that stuff, I'm also really annoyed with how the internet has just allowed Trisha to rebrand. Because that's really what happened. Like, rebrands need to be studied. Because rebrands are just, like, so amazing to me. Honestly, I think it's good to rebrand for ethical reasons. Like, I think that's really important. But I'm just like, I'm kind of shocked at how casually we think it's funny that YouTubers are running. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if a YouTuber becomes a public office servant, you know, a servant of the people. I care about, like, the why. You know what I mean? And I do struggle, I suppose, with the the casual, like, how did Trump get elected? He's an entertainer. Because you guys were just thought it was so funny that Trisha might run. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say? It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? That's why Trump won. So I'm a little annoyed that he might even be seriously running for office, right? Because, like, what are you doing, dude? I don't get it. I don't get it. But you know what? Like I said, in order for things to even exist in this space, they would have to be engaging in some sort of behavior. Like, I don't know. That seems really exhausting to me when I think about it. Okay. So for those who missed it, we are going to talk about Taylor Lorenz and the 62 million CNN. Okay. I do want to preface this with, literally, guys, yesterday you asked me about Taylor. And then Taylor Lorenz left a comment on my video. And it was a great comment because it's about veganism. She said, "Thank you so much for a fantastic video on veganism with all the nuance. People really misunderstand what it's about, especially in left-wing spaces." Amen, girl. I would love there to be a more authentic engagement with veganism, right? And remember that every time I say things about creators, I understand they could see this, which is why I think Taylor, you know, she's a big girl. I'm a big girl. Taylor also just recently criticized Josh, which I showed you earlier in stream. So I think Taylor's fine with me saying, like, oh, I hope she doesn't piss me off. So yesterday I was like, I hope Taylor doesn't piss me off with this video. And what I mean to say is, because I work in ethics, because my content is about philosophy, because the work that I do is specifically centered around interpersonal relationships, it means that when I talk about CNN's 62 million, I'm talking about it from a very specific perspective. And because a lot of the discourse over it when I first talked about it was about people focusing more on that number instead of the reality that the website existed, it's a different conversation than when Taylor's talking about policy. And even with that said, I think this is the section, because I did skip around this video to see if I want to cover it for stream. Even though you guys requested it, I do sometimes check. So I haven't watched the whole thing at all, but I got to this section here when I was skipping around. And I think this is where people were really mad, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just going to play for you this clip, and then we'll go back to the beginning. We'll watch it together.
Does feed back into that sort of like Christian mentality around sexual violence, which is to actually cover it up so that you can
Oh, wait, I think I skipped. I think it's over here.
Because it's like, oh, all these men are evil. What can
Yeah, this is, okay, hold on. Let me.
instead of focusing on prosecuting that or saying like,
Oh, hold on.
I mean, roofing people is a thing, but like, it's not like this specific sort of like sleep content stuff is like that pervasive, I would say, as a form of assault towards women. There are other forms of assault that are more pervasive. This is really something that's like between a husband and a wife, right? Or between a partner. And instead of focusing on prosecuting that or saying like, hey, we need an education. Hey, we need to educate people that like, actually, just because a man is your husband, that doesn't give him the right to assault you. You know, here's an education campaign. Here's what we can do. Instead, they're focusing on villainizing the platforms, not the men. And that's really disturbing too, because it's like, oh, all these men are evil. What can we do? Hold the platforms accountable. It's like, but the platforms didn't do any of this. You know, I don't doubt that they're not doing, you know, that they're the most responsible platforms on earth. But like, again, this is like, call the Luxembourg government. You know what I mean? And get some accountability if you want some content taken down. But otherwise, like, this is not a problem.
And it
girl, don't piss me off. You know what I mean? Like, listen, okay, like that is a very interesting sentiment. Let's watch the whole video to see the full context. But like, this is why I said, oh, Taylor, don't piss me off with this video. Don't piss me off. This is exactly what will be weaponized by the right and by rape culture to make their point that it's not that big of a deal. This is the bear versus man thing. Like, oh, well, statistically, Brittany, a bear is more likely to maul you than a man is to kill you. Okay, I'm still picking the bear. Do you know what I'm saying? Oh, well, this isn't that big of a deal. Like, women are being paranoid. You're making it sound like every man's trying to rape you. I mean, it's too many. Oh, well, this web, like, that's what you're doing. So I have a feeling, I wonder if Taylor would have picked the bear is the question mark. Listen to me when I say this. I pick the bear every time. Okay? Every time. Period. Okay? So let's go back to the beginning and watch it in context. But I can see why some of you sent this to me. And it's interesting. Chad said, watch the video. She's saying the opposite. Okay. Let's watch the video then. Let's try to be good faith here. Okay, here we go.
62 million men. 62 million men worldwide attended an online RAPE academy in the month of February alone.
62 million.
62 million men had an academy on how to drug and rape their wives.
62 million men.
62 million.
In March, CNN published a massive investigation into what they called a global online academy that had allegedly attracted 62 million men. This story broke the internet. You might have seen it across your TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram feeds. Content creators and pages like @Feminist promoted this story relentlessly. But what if nothing about this story is what it seems? After digging into it, this story is one of the worst, most dangerous examples of bad journalism being used to justify incredibly harmful laws. And today, I have Kat Tenbarge here, a journalist for Spitfire News who covers gender-based violence, to talk about how this story is so incredibly dangerous and harmful, and why this big investigation doesn't reveal what CNN claims it does. Not only are we going to debunk a bunch of claims made in this story, but we're also going to talk about why stories like this are proliferating and how the mainstream media furthers specific narratives to manufacture consent for really dangerous and harmful laws. Kat, welcome to Power User.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, where were you when this story hit the timeline? Because, you know, I was on, I think it was like TikTok or Instagram, and I feel like it was like this thing where suddenly I saw probably 50 videos in a row about this.
Yes, it was definitely one of those things where like someone made a post and then tons of people were making posts, because it was also like within the past 2 weeks, but the article actually came out like several weeks before it really popped off and went viral online. So it was definitely from like influencer accounts and not even actually journalists. It was like just random people.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the tweet go viral initially, and I feel like it propagated across platforms because it went super viral on Twitter, mostly because they had an extremely misleading headline. Like the original post actually has a community note on it because the original post had the 62 million number in it, which is what we're going to sort of debunk here. But I feel like it spread on Twitter. And then, as you said, it like ricocheted around the internet. Every influencer has talked about this. Newsletters like Issue Should Care About, @Feminist, like all of these like women's news websites, which is so insidious and horrible. So first, let's just describe, you know, what this article says. It centers on this website called Motherless.
Motherless is an adult content website. Like it is pretty similar looking format wise to any of your mainstream like adult content websites. And it has a variety of genres. It has a variety of content on there.
Yeah, this website is just like one of many massive, like what they're called tube websites. They're effectively like, you know, Pornhub. Sorry, I'm going to have to speak a lot in like coded language. This doesn't get taken off YouTube, unfortunately, but they're all of these websites where effectively users can upload user-generated content. It does have some guidelines. Obviously, you can't upload illegal content, but, you know, Motherless describes itself as a moral-free file hosting site where anything legal is hosted. It's basically a big website where you can get adult content. Now, there are a lot of different types of content on these big tube sites. A lot of them kind of like drill down into different fetishes. So you'll have, you know, balloon fetish, foot fetish, whatever. And one specific type of fetish content is called sleep content. And there's about 20,000 videos on Motherless of sleep content, but this kind of content is pretty pervasive across the adult website ecosystem. And it consists of essentially one person engaging in activities with the other person while they're theoretically asleep. Now, much of this content is very clearly staged. Like it is, they are so clearly on a set. The women or men are like very obviously like
This is why I keep unsubscribing and subscribing to Taylor. Why are you laughing? Like, why are you being so fucking nonchalant? Did you see the interviews of the victims who had to watch their own videos to identify themselves? Like, this is why I'm going to unsubscribe again. I just subscribed again. I'm going to unsubscribe again. Somebody give me a cigarette. Somebody give me a cigarette. Like, we covered the actual interviews of victims. They were devastating to watch. So for her to be all casual, listen, I am a sex worker. I make sex work content on OnlyFans. I stopped watching porn on porn websites like 10 years ago because of the controversy that happened, finding out that a lot of it was rape. A lot of it was minors. I was like, I'm not watching anymore. I'm not saying I want the government to come in and regulate porn companies, even though there should be some regulation. I don't want conservatives to weaponize this to take down sex work. But I'm saying we as people, this is what I'm saying. I understand that Taylor is worried that the Heritage Foundation and conservatives are trying to come in and take down porn, which as I wouldn't want. I wouldn't want my OF to go away. I make a lot of really beautiful art there. Okay. Though I could, I guess, make more, I don't know. I could put it on Instagram, I suppose. Because, for the most part, I think most of my work could go on Instagram. Well, not really, maybe because I do nude art, but maybe. Okay, the point is that I'm saying, okay, that doesn't take away from the fact that there are real rape victims you could be watching, real children you could be watching on these sites. And the fact is, yes, we live in this world. This is really difficult, right? Like, I understand we live in a world where bad people are in charge, and so you're worried they're going to weaponize it against us. They're already doing that anyways. And I think we should stop it. And I think we should stop acting casual about the harm that's being done. And this is why I hate fucking conservatives when they use this rhetoric, their ideas. I hate their ideas because they weaponize any chance of actually helping children and they turn it into some weird, corrupt, pro-life bullshit. But that's why I say, don't listen to conservatives. This is why I don't talk to conservatives. Because, other than my family that I already have to deal with, you're not serious about protecting kids. And I know Taylor has done a really good job and she has done a really good job of exposing a lot of the maliciousness that conservatives are doing to weaponize these policies. I understand that. But I don't like the way she is casually smiling about something that is so serious. And I wonder, did you watch the videos, Taylor? Did you watch the videos of the victims talking about their rapes? Because I read the article and I watched the videos. It is devastating. And I'm saying, if you watch the videos of the victims, how can you talk about it this way? You can make your point. I think Taylor could have made her point, but it feels like she's throwing the victims under the bus. And I don't get it.
Performers. But, there are also a lot of videos that it's maybe unclear if it's staged or how much. So there's 20,000 of these videos on Motherless.
Yeah, they're not advertising that it's criminal conduct taking place. They're actually advertising the opposite. They are branding it as consensual staged activity. And so this CNN article did not find that any of these specific videos on this platform were non-consensual, but they
I'm sorry, am I confused? Did we all watch different interviews? Did my content, did I report it wrong? I'm so confused. Did we not watch the same stuff? Am I lost?
link it to real crimes.
Yeah, they basically imply that all of these 20,000 videos are criminal content. And this would sort of the equivalent would be taking a look at another adult website, looking at every video where, there's maybe a grape fantasy or something where a person seems coerced and saying, okay, that fictional depiction in adult content is real. And that's very silly because as we know, people come up with all sorts of different scenarios in adult content. And it's like saying something that you witnessed in a movie is real. It's no, this is intentionally staged as entertainment, as content to be consumed. These are actors, these are performers, etc. Some of them are different sort of levels of professional performers. You've got the sort of independent content creators, you have people that work for studios, et cetera, et cetera. But as you know, this CNN article sort of tries to conflate the two. So it starts off by saying there's this horrible website, Motherless. It's a massive site. And on that site, there are all these women that are allegedly being victimized in their sleep. Now that website, Motherless, has 62 million visits a month. Not men, okay? And not even unique visitors, visits.
And also not even views on these videos.
Is it giving liberal sex positivity where it's I'm leftist porn individual? No, leftist sex workers are anti-porn. They're anti the porn industry because it's deeply misogynistic and rapey. Is it giving like liberal, like porn is good and the porn industry is good? We just need to reform it? No, we need to dismantle the porn industry. It is completely patriarchal, and reform sex work to go back into the hands of sex workers who are not exploitative. Are we all confused? What is happening?
Like the videos that they're talking about oftentimes have like 50,000 views. Like I think they literally say in the article.
And that would be high. Most of this content actually is not viewed very much because it's not a super popular fetish. There are way more pervasive and popular fetishes, and this content is just not that much of a thing online.
There are like deepfake websites that I've looked at for like deepfake adult content that is like expressly non-consensual, and the view counts were way higher on those websites, and they're not even as old as websites as Motherless is. So it's kind of striking. Like the videos aren't even that highly viewed. It's like they're taking the entire site's traffic to get that big number.
Okay, so there's all this sort of sleep fetish content. Now, at some point in the comment section of one of these seemingly consensually produced sleep fetish videos, a user posted a link to a Telegram group that had several hundred...
Okay, the Telegram group. Right. Okay.
Men discussing how to assault women while they were asleep.
Okay.
Is this bad? Yes, it's bad. But I just want to be clear. Motherless was not hosting this content. Motherless was not promoting this content. This website that had 62 million visits a month or whatever, it was not promoting this Telegram group to 62 million people a month. That's ridiculous. This website was not affiliated in any formal way.
Okay. Hold on. This sounds like me when I left when I left conservatism and I moved into sex positivity and sex work, and like, no, I wasn't a sex worker then, but I was like nudity and doing parties and hanging out and having a lot of fun. I was still even virginal, okay, if that helps. I was in kink groups. I was like hanging out, okay. I used to think any criticism of sex work or porn was like an attack on porn or sex industries. I used to think like, any criticism or any connection to like the kind of porn you make is an attack on freedom. Then I learned that yes, the kind of porn you make matters. The way you get consent matters. I used to think, guys, this is a horrible story, but I will admit it. There was this story that went viral where these two porn actresses claimed rape after a set or sexual assault after a set. And I can't remember if it was rape or sexual assault or I remember it was like duress. Like it was very much SA, okay? And I remember watching the video, this is a long time ago, and getting upset at the women because they gave verbal consent before and it was on video because that's how porn industries do it. They take a video of you and they say like, yes, I consent, I want to be here. The women came out and said, look, the industry is scary. These men are coercing us. We don't know what to do. And I remember thinking, but you gave consent. What more do you want? That's why you have to deconstruct rape culture, because women especially, we will internalize like, oh, I gave my consent, so now I can't revoke it, I guess. And that's why I say revoke consent at any time you want, period. I have revoked consent mid-sex with my partner plenty, okay? It's not like, you know, all the time, but like I've done it and I feel very safe doing it and I feel good about it. Sometimes, you know, you have cramps and you're not into it. Sometimes you're like, man, I don't think I'm into this right now. Not a big deal. It doesn't matter. You love them. You roll over, watch some One Piece. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter. But when I was younger, I really internalized this bullshit from rape culture that told me my initial consent was all that was required. And any revoking of consent after was party pooping. Boo. Right? So Taylor sounds like that to me right now. And I don't want to believe that's what she's saying, but it is what the implication is, that any criticism of the industry is negating or somehow like a threat to, I guess, like, or maybe it's giving into the Heritage Foundation or something. Okay. So I don't like those things really. And I do think there is a correlation. I think there is a factual correlation that the same men who like the kind of porn that you were seeing on these sites will be the same kind of men who are in these group chats, the same kind of men that are promoting it to other men, and the same kind of men that are uploading to porn sites. Like porn sites have already been caught. Minors, rape videos. I don't know what else you need. It's happening. So for Taylor to confidently say, oh, this website isn't hosting it, the website might be hosting it, even if they don't mean to do it on purpose. The same way there are videos on YouTube that when YouTube gets a chance to take it down, they do, but they're there. The same way that Reddit or any other website definitely has videos, okay? again, so I want this to be very like clear, okay? You said, girly, I think she's trying to state the facts. I agree the porn industry is inherently exploitative. I think she's just trying to say that the Motherless site was another porn site because she's talking about the article, and the article did not talk about the porn industry. Listen. In the same way Taylor is very concerned with the way that people are misunderstanding technology policy, like, oh, Discard wants age verification to protect kids. And she's like, no, that's a lie. I feel about Taylor's work. Taylor, when you go around saying, even factually, that CNN is making a bad article, you're moving people closer to rape culture. You are telling people the rape of these women don't matter. And I understand there's an attack on porn right now, that conservatives are trying very hard to weaponize porn and talk about no FAP and all this stuff. And by the way, I do think that makes more predators. I think having an excess of porn in your life to such a degree where it's crippling is bad. And I think denying yourself any connection to porn or sexuality is also bad. It doesn't have to be porn. It could be like, again, porn is a funny word. My family considers this poster porn. This mermaid poster, my family calls it porn. It's me modeled that I modeled for a mermaid painting. So be careful what we call porn for sure. But also, you should be devastated for the victims, right? Okay, so when we have this conversation, we have to be careful. Like, I understand we're all having different opinions. The problem is like, I can't get behind a video like this and be like excited about it, because the way she's sounding is playing right into the misogynistic men on the internet who are like, why are men aren't rapists? Women act like all men are raping. You know what I'm saying? She's adding into the narrative about paranoia. So I like that Taylor's staying in her lane, but because you guys asked me to review this, I have to review it from my lane. And my lane says content like this seems to be more harmful to interpersonal relationships and societal concern over rape. It just downplays rape. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. Okay? And I understand she might have concerns, but the way she's going about explaining it 7 minutes in, it feels like she's throwing rape victims under the bus more than poning the Christians.
With this Telegram group, just somebody posted in the comments, hey, here's this Telegram group. A CNN reporter joins the Telegram group and discovers that it's full of hundreds of men talking about, unconsensually attacking women. These men are all over the world. There's no evidence that these men produced any of the content that's on Motherless at all. It's not
it doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. Why does this matter? Now, I know she's saying it matters, but she should give us the premise of the argument before this thing. Because again, that wasn't the point of the CNN article. The point of the CNN article was to say that, well, first of all, that's not true. The CNN article interviewed people that said their porn was found on sites, and that lots of websites could upload these things, and that Motherless had a whole category for it. Motherless, all porn websites should stop having ebony, teen, non-consent, and sleep porn. I think you should take it all down. Ebony's racist. It's gross. Teen is disgusting. It's basically PDF porn. Okay? And I actually don't think you should have those categorizations. Because again, that's not helpful. And it only exists to exacerbate or to engage with prejudice and bigoted kinks and fetishes, which aren't inherently good or bad. Kinks and fetishes don't mean good or bad. I know, I've been in the kink community over a decade. It's very nuanced, and a lot of people have very traumatizing kinks. I mean, there are people with kinks where you kick women in stomachs. We need to have a conversation about why you have this kink. Do you know what I mean? We have to have this conversation, Chat, why'd you say this? You said not Brittany out here, body language expert on Taylor Lorenz. I didn't even say anything about that, so I don't know what that means. And I know your comments tend to be more centricity, so you better explain yourself. Thank you.
even really confirmed that any of them acted on any of their behaviors. One of them was arrested after CNN flagged their identity to the police in Poland, but they don't even know it's him. So, it's just so ridiculous. But I think what's so insidious is that none of this is really made clear in the article. It's all just sort of conflated. So if you just skim this article, you'd be like, oh, there's 62 million men on this website, and now there's this whole community that's being fostered. Like, no, this link to this Telegram community could have been shared anywhere.
The facts of the article and the way that people then turned them into viral social media content, it became so distorted.
Well, then don't go after CNN, go after the TikTokers that distorted the information, or just put out good information. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you act like there isn't more we could be doing on these sites to create a better relationship with everything we've been doing. You know what I mean?
Because the number one thing that I've heard people say about this article, including just like in casual conversations with like friends and colleagues and acquaintances, people believe that there were 62 million men in this group chat. And people keep saying like,
but aren't you so impressed with how angry people were over it? And you act like 62 million people don't absolutely exist worldwide. Sex trafficking is, femicide is up, sex trafficking is a problem. Like, why are you acting like it's still not a problem? Like, again, when you downplay in order to be correct or accurate in a way that is harmful to rape victims, you're not helping. Because it doesn't matter. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I get what she's doing, but I'm saying, like, you need to reform how you do this content.
There's 62 men in an online group chat, and like that's how many men are engaging in these specific behaviors in this one group chat, and that is not true. And like to your point, Taylor, like the distortion becomes even worse because then people think that also like the website with 62 million hits is directly like a part of this content, or that it's all some sort of like networked economy, when there's no evidence of that. Like, I've investigated sort of networked like economies of non-consensual content online, and this is not the same thing. It is like kind of a bunch of like disjointed groups that are being associated with each other so that they can get that really, really big number in the.
Well, okay, but first of all, this is how the red pill community is talked about as well. What are you talking about? Conservatives, red pill communities, they're not all the same, but they overlap, right? Like, this is how the numbers end up becoming what they are. Like, again, I don't understand how you're not getting it, because this is the part that I just like, what are you doing? I don't want to say that. Never, I'm not going to say that. Listen, this is like, you remember when that statistic was going around, the 1 in 4? And everyone's like, it's not 1 in 4 men have been, or raping, or 1 in 4 women have been raped. And then conservative men were trying to debunk it because they're like, that's not even what rape is. If Russell Brand at 30 years old can have sex legally with a 16-year-old, that's not going to be towards a rape statistic, yes? But it is rape, yes? The numbers are there, and probably way worse than we think they are, because we don't even count what Russell Brand did as rape. Andrew Tate brags about having sex with teenagers, with minors, and none of it will be counted as rape. And I'm saying, we have to talk about this because it is happening. And yes, I agree. Like, when my mother, okay, this is what I think Taylor's trying to get at. When I try to have conversations with my mother about the predators in our families, or the fact that my grandma was married at 10 years old, she goes, well, porn is making everything worse. Porn. Yes, I agree with Taylor that we shouldn't blame porn for everything. And yet, I will say that what I would say is that porn, in the way that it exists now, is through a patriarchal, capitalistic framework, and exists at the expense of sex workers and the customers. Everybody is suffering with the current version of sex work. That's why we're attempting to change things by holding our own communities accountable and saying, not good enough. Okay? Like, I understand you don't understand, but yet, you know what I'm saying? So I get what Taylor's worried about, but still, okay? Let's see. Chat says, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Taylor's doing tech journalism. Right. We've already said that. I get it. This is her tech journalism. And I am saying this is why I can't get behind her content and why I always unsubscribe and subscribe. Because if this is tech reporting, then it's not helping what I'm trying to do by actually tackling rape. Like, my work is about interpersonal relationships, trying to get people to be less bad, less philosophically bad, if they want to be, which includes consent, which includes being careful about what websites you watch porn on, which includes be careful the porn you're consuming. So when I am doing this, I'm not going after Taylor and saying she's doing her job bad. I'm saying Taylor is the reason my work is harder. Taylor is making my job harder. And she probably thinks you're making my job harder. And I'm saying, and then there we are. There it is. Right? That's what I'm saying. Okay? That's the thing that I think is very important about why we use other people's content to have larger conversations. So when she was commenting on Josh and ContraPoints, she was saying, hey, this is my job. This is what I do. You're spreading misinformation. And then I look at Taylor and I go, hey, Taylor's an example of what frustrates me about this industry because she is making excuses for rape culture. Whether she realizes it or not, that is what this will be. Okay?
Headline.
And let's talk about where this content came from. So there has been an anti-adult content activist, a hardcore far-right activist that wants to censor, the whole internet, hates adult content, who has been posting for months about this website. She's become obsessed about this website. And it seems like CNN just got this article from her because she has been the one that is digging in on all of this stuff.
We're talking about this woman named Layla Mickelwaite.
Do you want to explain who this woman is, Kat?
Yeah. So these anti-adult content activists are religious extremists. They operate under the guise of wanting to protect women, much in the same way that anti-trans extremists operate under the guise of wanting to protect women and girls. But really their motivation is rooted in oftentimes far-right Christian movements. And so there's a lot of manipulation going on with figures like Layla, and the group that she's a part of is called Exodus Cry, which should be all you need to know. That's an obvious sign that this is rooted in extreme forms of.
Yeah, for sure. All this stuff is bullshit, considering that conservative people have one of the highest rates of sexual assault. And that also fucking frustrates me when people come into my chat and go, Brittany, rape isn't left or right, it's everybody. No, there is a concerted number increase with conservative belief systems centering rape as an entitlement. Conservative homes make more predators. They just do. Because of the way they're raised, the ways they're denied masturbation. Guys, there are communities of people I grew up in that can't touch their own genitals. It creates you just become crazy. So I'm saying, yes, fight against this bullshit, but you should have circled. Why didn't Taylor I don't get why she didn't do this. You start the story at the right point. Even when the 62 million number happened, I said, stop correcting the number and start just putting out the right number. But if you focus on the wrong number, it just puts in people's psychology, their brain just goes, oh, I guess I don't have to worry about this. It's not that big of a deal. That's what I'm saying. You're focusing on the wrong thing. Now, all people are hearing is this isn't real. There is no rape. There is no sex trafficking. Everybody's good. All these women consented, even though we watched interviews with women who did not consent. CNN also did interviews with women in these situations from these Telegram groups who said they did not consent. Real victims were the product of this situation. And they are being pushed aside for the sake of your accuracy. And I'm saying be accurate without throwing the victims under the bus.
Christianity, but basically she conflates all adult content with sexual violence. So she operates under the assumption and perpetuates this belief.
Sure, and there are rad femmes in my chat all the time talking about how Brittany, BDSM is inherently misogynistic. Girl, we can talk about it because, again, you don't know enough about BDSM, and I agree with you. Lots of BDSM is misogynistic. Lots of it. Lots of it. But I'm also saying you don't know what BDSM is inherently because as a whole, BDSM can look like we give massages to each other and you could call that BDSM. Now, somebody will be like, that's not BDSM. It is BDSM because BDSM is about power dynamics in which they are consensual in power or energy exchange. Don't think about power dynamics. Think about energy exchange. Okay? So again, when we have these conversations, our communities are so niche, but all you're doing is throwing us under the bus. Why do you think the kink community was so upset that 50 Shades of Grey was misrepresenting our community? Because Christian Grey is an abuser. He's an abuser. As a sex worker, I do not want Motherless to represent sex work. I do not want sleeping videos of husbands drugging their girlfriends and having sex with them to represent sex work. That's not the kind of sex work we should be creating. Look it was like when sex workers did, you remember that sex worker who dressed up as an Egyptian and she did race play? Yeah, no, we do not need race play sex work. That's what I'm saying. You guys are not, we don't need this. This doesn't need to be going
that anything you see on an adult content website is some form of illegal activity. And not only is that not true and really just kind of a panic designed to psychologically terrorize women, but also this
you know what this sounds like? This sounds like when people are mad that I say weed can cause psychosis or trigger psychosis, even though it absolutely fucking can. And then people think I'm anti-weed. I love weed. And yes, conservatives will weaponize their the psychosis to shit on weed, but they didn't need that excuse. Stop living your life on what conservatives will do. You're making it worse for people. Weed-induced psychosis is real. Please protect yourselves. Please do your due diligence. Please do not oversmoke. Please have a sitter. Please check in. Please drink enough water. Please sleep. Okay, please do what you need to do. But I am sick of people going like, oh, I'm going to ignore anything bad that this thing I love does because I don't want people to weaponize it. Habibi, please. Okay, we just watched a woman talk about how, like, divorce your husbands if you really want to decenter men. There are always people on the extremes. We have to go with what's right, what's good for everybody. And if your work throws healthy relationships and or rape victims under the bus, I don't want to hear it.
Is really harmful for adult content creators because it makes it harder for them to live, it makes it harder for them to work, and it even makes it harder for them to report when violence occurs to them.
And I agree, chat says, I don't know if Taylor think that people consume CNN and thought we need to ban all porn, but people who saw the story were like, we need to urgently deconstruct patriarchy. Literally, every TikTok that I saw about this was like, men need to stop. We need to stop men. Instead of we need to ban porn. I didn't see one person talk about banning porn.
Because if there's no distinction between consensually produced content and non-consensually produced content, then it makes it much harder for people to be able to get these crimes taken seriously.
Yeah, it's so dangerous. I mean, Layla Mickelwaite is just the worst. This woman is just completely intertwined in far-right Christian nationalism. You've probably seen her on a bunch of far-right podcasts. She's very involved in that sphere.
Oh yeah, I've talked to her about porn. Why porn is addictive. Well, I know something about addiction personally. Because I'm a victim of it. He is actually, shout out to addicts. I know you guys are suffering. Sorry.
She went on Jordan Peterson's podcast back when Jordan Peterson was still around, claiming why adult content is addictive, how harmful it is. As you mentioned, Kat, she's really against sort of like sexuality. Like, I don't know how else to put it. She's against women expressing their sexuality. She's against, gender non-conforming people. This is far-right Christian nationalism. And these people have been waging a war on adult content since the beginning of the internet, right? These are the people that got FOSTA SESTA passed. These are the people that have been trying to chip away at our free expression online, especially women's free expression, LGBTQ people's free expression, et cetera, for years. So she becomes obsessed with Motherless. Like, she's posting about Motherless.
I know Taylor really wants to like fight for women and fight for gay people and fight for people. I just wish Taylor did it in a way that didn't make me as a queer gay woman in sex work who's a victim of assault, feel like you don't care about me, bro. You don't care about us. This video, I'm 12 minutes in and I do not think Taylor cares 1 ounce about us. And I'm like, yeah, now CNN at least made me feel like they cared. That's how I felt with the CNN article and the videos. Damn, I felt cared for. I did. I felt like, damn, like victims are getting a voice. People are speaking out. This is so real. We've been dealing with it behind the scenes and nobody cared. And finally, CNN made this article that you can take issues with, absolutely. But all it did was make a lot of people feel very fucking seen. And that's why it's so frustrating to see you go after the article instead of going after Layla specifically. And then why are you supporting Motherless when they do have that kind of content on their site? And then she might say, like, the government shouldn't decide what kind of content you have on your site. We've been having this argument for 1,000 years. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have Nazi signs all over the walls, right? Like in Croatia, it's a hate sign. If you draw a swastika, you're in trouble. They don't have free speech laws like America does. And honestly, like, vibes. And yet I understand as a US citizen, a lot of people are like, free speech, free speech. I hear you. And yet we know we have free speech and people weaponize it anyways. This woman, I'm going to cover it tomorrow. That woman who made a joke about Netanyahu is facing time because of a joke she made in a Discord or in a group chat and somebody reported it. It was obviously a joke. Hell, all of us need to serve time for the jokes we've made, apparently. Yeah, I get it. But that's different than talking about publicly defacing like property and having conversations. But I don't even believe in prisons or arrests the way you people do. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there is a difference between wanting better for the community, because this is why I say I talk about morals and not laws. I don't want to have to be put in a position where I need to make a law. Can you just not draw a swastika, please? I shouldn't have to make a law that says don't draw a swastika. Don't do it. Do you know what I'm saying? But the fact is, and I agree with you, we shouldn't have to have the law. But same thing with this website. I shouldn't have to tell Motherless not to have this kind of content. I shouldn't have to tell these like that people that, yeah, women are being sexually assaulted. People are being sexually assaulted and not have them fight me on it. Okay? So I get where she's coming from. I hear her. Okay? And I want to say that I'm not sure that this video is very helpful to victims, but I'm sure it's helpful to policy.
talking about motherless. She's trying to get all this attention on it. CNN takes the bite, I guess, and they do this investigation. One of the worst investigations I've ever seen, because they didn't ultimately find anything except like a group chat with a couple hundred men that are like all over the world. And it's sort of unclear if what they're saying, you know, happened even happened.
Am I fucking crazy, bro?
In England, where survivors Amanda and Zoe live, nearly a quarter of sexual assault victims are assaulted while unconscious or asleep, and that number has risen over the last decade. Amanda's ex took his own life before the case could go to court. She's still piecing her life back together, and the shock of learning about group chats where this kind of abuse continues hasn't faded.
Instantly, my whole body goes and my hands start shaking. I don't even have a word for it, that it's being glorified, and men are teaching others how to do this, and they're doing this to the people they say they love. It's beyond evil.
While survivors may not remember the videos being filmed, men in the Telegram groups we tracked are making money from them, selling clips and live streams for as little as $20. You're hearing a woman snoring in a clip from a live stream advertised in this group as a way to entice users to pay for more. The user claimed it was his wife who was asleep and who he was about to rape. Processing this kind of material raises a nearly unanswerable question. Why do some men encourage these crimes while others go on to commit them? A psychologist who assessed dozens of the defendants in the Pellico case thinks they were motivated by fantasies of domination, fueled by a culture that to this day treats many women as objects to be controlled.
Okay, so this is where BDSM comes into play. BDSM that isn't consent informed is bad, just like sex that isn't informed is bad, right? What's the difference between sex and rape? It's the consent factor. It's not the physicality of the sex, right? BDSM can be, a lot of Trump people do BDSM. I met a lot of conservatives in the BDSM dungeons. Their BDSM was very different than the BDSM done by progressives or leftists, okay? We want informed consent. We want people to be sober, as an example. We want people to be ready to engage. Listen, again, I don't want to throw names under the bus, but I have absolutely had conversations with women who are, quote, leftists in spaces who wanted to or talked about doing BDSM or sex with me or others. And I said, you had to be sober. And they would be like, I can't do it sober. I can't let go unless I'm drunk. And I'm like, guys, you have to be sober. And they were like, you're such a party pooper. Like, they were like, okay, well, I don't want to do it with you then. And I'm like, and if I said their names, you would be shocked. You would literally be shocked if I said their names. And I was shocked when I was like, are we all fucking crazy? Are you guys all crazy? That's the dilemma. At the end of the day, the world is so fucked that not only have women convinced themselves that they don't need to give informed consent, they've convinced themselves that they're cooler if they don't. That the better way to have sex is, quote, free of inhibition, instead of actually being sober, being real, being in the moment, being actually right there with your partner. And I'm saying this all plays into BDSM as a fantasy. You can't even have sex. You know, it's like when kinksters are like, ew, you're so vanilla. Ooh, you're so vanilla. Guys, vanilla sex is great sex. All sex is good sex as long as it's consensual and you enjoy being there. So we're doing it to each other. So men who are uneducated, born in Christian households with no fucking education, okay, move through life as if porn is a fantasy that is meant to be applied to reality. And this is why porn can be bad, because people, it's not an education. Porn is not sex education. That's why sex workers are very, very critical of how you engage in sex education. And why we've been telling people porn is acting, it's a fantasy. The issue is that some people don't think it is. They don't understand that. In the same way, you don't understand that YouTubers are putting on a performance. The same way people have parasocial relationships with YouTubers. Because you guys keep thinking, no, I knew them. They were so great. And then boom. And I'm saying, I'm telling you, I've been screaming it. We're all screaming it. And I know, again, I know Taylor has good intentions, but to sit here and say this isn't a problem, they barely found any evidence, there was no people, This is a problem. There is people. I hate that so many people see something that I consider so personal and amazing and liberating, like BDSM, and utilize it for something destructive. But they do. They do. And so we can't allow them to do it. We can't allow them to say, oh, I'm just her dom, and she does it because I'm her dom. No. No. Okay, even if you're 24/7, this was always taught to me in the community that I was in. Even if you're 24/7, you know, dom sub, slave master, real life happens. You got to take a shit. You got to pay your bills. Get up and do the dishes. Okay, it's a nice little fantasy. Like, put me in handcuffs and, you know, put a leash around my neck and guide me through the house. And I'm always a footstool for you. But actually, I have diarrhea today, so I need to get up. Come on, girls, grow up. The dilemma is like these men aren't growing up. So then they become Andrew Tate. They're not growing up. They become sex traffickers. They're not growing up. They rape women saying, oh, she wanted it though. She said no, but she wanted it. And I'm saying it is a problem because we're not having conversations about consent. And we're not being serious about how bad these porn industries are absolutely impacting people. And worse, your parenting is. Your parenting is absolutely impacting. And I don't know why she's saying, go after the men and not the platforms, as if these platforms aren't complicit with how people find this information. What do you mean? Okay? That's what I'm saying. Chet says Brittany's acting like Taylor doesn't care about victims when Taylor is a huge advocate to repeal SESTA and FOSTA. It really is really gross to me. Do you have the listening capabilities of a person who doesn't understand the language I'm speaking? Should I speak it? What language do you speak? Should I speak a different language? What are you not understanding? How many times do I have to say that I don't believe Taylor how many times am I trying to save Taylor's reputation right now? How many times do I have to say this? I don't think Taylor's doing this intentionally. But how many times am I saying that victims of sexual assault are going to take issues with this video, especially given the reality of our lived experience and especially given the statistical probability of assault happening to us? Okay? I am trying so hard to be nice to Taylor, but if we're all going to be grown-ups in the room, this is a bad video. And it throws victims under the bus, and it's disappointing. So far, we're 12 minutes in. Let's give her a little bit more time.
But anyway, CNN runs the story. So they open with this description of motherless, as you say. They conflate the 62 million people with the Telegram group, and then they proceed to tell some really horrifying, disturbing stories. So they talk about this one woman who, for 16 years, her husband would make her tea, she would fall asleep, and then he would assault her while she was asleep. This is horrible. Now, this woman's abuse started over 20 years ago. And actually, her husband was prosecuted and is currently serving an 11-year sentence after a 4-year court battle. But none of this was facilitated because of a website.
And they also compare it up at the very top to the Giselle Pelicano.
So when you say but, now everything that you said before erases in people's head. But just language, from a language perspective, now nobody cares about the woman in her case. That's it. Her story is invisible and doesn't matter now.
Case, which also does not have anything to do with like this specific Telegram group or this adult content website. There were elements of like a forum where Giselle's, abuser like found other men, but it was really interesting to me that like the human experiences highlighted in this article don't.
Yeah, exactly. Chad said she brushed past that so quickly. Exactly. Because the victims are an afterthought for Taylor. In this video, the victims do not matter. They are not the focus of this content because they do tech journalism, right? That's why I say you stay in your lane, and I have to call this out because people ask me to review it, and I'm saying, I see what you're doing. This is why I don't like your content. Every time I want to like the content, I can't, because when I listen, all I hear is the reality of what victims are facing when they're working in groups, when they're advocating for themselves, when they're existing in spaces, when they're trying to be heard. We're an afterthought. We're a but, and I'm like, okay, cool, bro.
Have anything to do with the technological aspects of this article. And in fact, like these women's stories really expose some other systemic issues that I think would be really, really helpful to focus on here. Like, for example, that woman whose husband did ultimately get convicted and is currently in prison, she talked about how horrific the legal process was and how it was a 4-year legal process and how her children were ostracized and bullied at school, and she lost all of her friends because people believe that like husbands cannot harm their wives in this way and that it wasn't a big deal.
And that's when Taylor says like there was nothing on this website and there's no proof of it, is as if to say that nothing on the website should be questionable. Again, I stopped watching real porn on porn sites about 10 years ago. Whenever it came out that really famous porn star was raping people, I was like, oh, fuck, because I liked his gifs. I don't remember what his name is now, but I was like liking his content and we were all watching the content. And then I was like, like, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to run the risk of watching people that could be getting raped on camera, which is why I say support independent artists, go straight to the source, you know, make sure you're going to people that are consensually working in this industry to the best of your ability, because if it's through like an organization, it's most likely coming at the expense of like the people working on staff, right?
Because she was like unconscious at the time. So like there are other systemic issues that are just kind of being completely overlooked because all of the focus is on the false idea that there were 62 million men in a group chat, when the real story here is that this is a phenomenon that well precedes the internet. Men have been doing this to their wives and to other women for probably centuries, but certainly at least decades. And while the internet plays a role in some of these cases, to act like that is the main driver of the behavior is to actually obfuscate like the patriarchal, misogynistic elements of.
Sure, I think the added wound is that these women's images are on the internet and there's no way it will ever leave. Yeah, James Dean. Thank you, Chad. James Dean. I think the devastating part of the story is that these women, it's on the internet. Like, it's one thing to be raped with no evidence, you know, no one has to watch your rape happen over and over again. And another reality where somebody is buying a video of you being raped and they're paying real money to see that happen. I mean, that would just haunt you. Right? Like, just think about like even if you made a consensual video like Pamela Anderson did and somebody stole it and posted it, how evil that is. Living with that reality that nobody was supposed to see that video. People make sex videos all the time. 50 Cent notoriously purchased a revenge sex video of a woman who thought she was having consensual sex with her partner. And after they broke up, he was so mad at her, he sold it to 50 Cent and he posted it. Right? Like, how devastating is that? Like, don't you think that's gross? You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to say. It's not just the fact that it's been happening and it's always happening. There's now an added layer of technology creating it so people can distribute it. That is a big deal. The internet making it a place to distribute it is a big deal. It's an added layer of social stigma that didn't exist before.
This culture, the police failure and inaction, like the systemic barriers, and of course the societal stigma, like all of that is sort of pushed aside.
Well, also, there's no evidence that the internet is making this phenomenon worse. And in fact, there's evidence that the digital trails these people create through buying these drugs online, through bragging about, their escapades, to communicating about group chats, actually helps them get prosecuted. And so, we had the Giselle Pellicott story. We had the woman who suffered for 16 years. And then we had this woman, Amanda Stanhope, who also, basically had a partner who assaulted her when she was asleep. When she went to the police about it and they were going to arrest him, etc., he took his own life before the case went to court. Very tragic, very horrible. But none of that has anything to do with adult content. And none of these men were creating adult content that ended up on any of these websites. And none of these men cited in the stories took part in this Telegram group either.
And Amanda Stanhope, the reason I believe CNN was able to find her is because she now uses social media to talk about this crime and to raise awareness for her story. And then in response to that, you have people basically saying we should be censoring her off the internet.
If you're watching this video and you like my work, please support me on Patreon via the link below or by a paid subscription to my tech and online culture newsletter at usermag.co. That's usermag.co. I don't have any long-term brand partnerships and a lot of my content is effectively demonetized. I've lost major brand deals for speaking out.
Yeah, Chad said it's the lack of sensitivity. I think that's what it is. Like, I just think this is a horrible way to make this video when mostly I assume men are watching Taylor because of the way she covers content. I assume she has I have a female audience, okay? 70% of my viewership is women. I assume she has mostly men watching. And I just imagine if you already have a man who's engaging in patriarchal constructs listening to Taylor, all he's hearing is like, oh, I don't have to worry about it. That I can keep watching Motherless, I can keep watching porn sites, I can keep watching this content, and Taylor said there's nothing rapey on it. So I don't have to do my due diligence, I don't have to be concerned, I don't have to consider the victims, I don't even have to worry because Taylor says I don't have to worry.
Out on certain issues and for challenging power. As you can imagine, advertisers are not exactly eager to work with somebody who covers a lot of the topics that I cover and talks about the things that I talk about. These videos I make are entirely funded by you, and I can't continue to make them without your support. So if you get any value out of the videos that I create and you want me to be able to create more, please support me on Patreon or Substack via the links below. On Patreon, I do bonus episodes, monthly Q&A live streams, and post frequent updates about my work. My Substack newsletter gives you a bi-weekly roundup of everything that I'm seeing and reading and paying attention to online. You can also get my newsletter on Patreon once again Again, the links to everything are below in the description. Every dollar of your support makes such a difference. So that's what it quickly turns into, right? So CNN is—
Okay, hold on. Looking at the comments really fast. This is the comment that comes up. It feels to me like a psychological warfare against women to make us really frightened and scared and more in favor of reactionary politics than that are ultimately against our best interests. Clock it. This is a quote. That's my concern. My concern is they're going to twist this story to be like, oh, women are so paranoid about rape. They're making more women paranoid about rape. See how that's, see, oh my God. Like, yeah, these comments, just like based off of the comments, like, yeah, like people are just stuck on the like, oh, like, imagine if you thought half the population was doing this. Imagine if you lived in a world where like, bro. Yeah, our work is so distinctly different. Like, we're just dealing with completely different problems, but they overlap. It's weird. Taylor probably thinks I'm making her job harder and she's making my job harder. Isn't that interesting? Wow. Okay.
It's like, whoa, 62 million. They put all these scary numbers up front. They conflate a couple hundred men in a Telegram group with 62 million men that have checked that checked a Tube website. And by the way, actually, we don't even know that it's men. 62 million visits, not even 62 million unique people. 62 million visits could be 20 million unique people, and only, half of them could be men. So we have no idea.
Come on, Taylor. You know, mostly men are engaging with certain kinds of porn, that women have a preference for the kind of porn they watch. Come on. Don't. Okay. And that's a big part of patriarchy and also what's accessible. Like, men trained under patriarchy are trained to want and desire certain types of porn. Like, come on.
Actually, how many men even visited this website? But the article, I think it's so insidious. And the reason I want to talk about it, especially, is like, I feel like you and I were like venting about it so much on chat, is that it takes this like really dangerous turn. So it immediately starts talking about how we need to censor the internet. And it says, Motherless has avoided being targeted for the type of content.
Actually, chat, great question. You said, I'm wondering if rape culture doesn't exist to them. Serious? She's not talking like somebody who's aware of rape culture, but probably because she's a tech journalist. So maybe she doesn't talk about those issues as it relates to this because it would make sense. But in my mind, you can't separate the two. Rape culture is baked into our technology. That's why people even unconsensually like filming people and like feeling entitled to people's bodies. And yes, a lot of it is done for protection, which Taylor points out very rightfully, that a lot of these policies are being used to take down videos of ICE agents or arrests or Israel videos. So I agree, like the right is trying to take down videos of people doing atrocious things. So I agree with Taylor, this is a concern. And I say that you can record to protect yourself, absolutely. And I think there's something, that's why I say like, we want the world to be a different place, but as long as that's why I'm trying to do the right thing no matter what. I'm trying to say, I don't think this is the right thing no matter what. I think Kat is so used to combating conservatives, she's not allowed to do the right thing. Because girls, if you are battling in the mud, then you're going to get mud on you. And that means every solution you create is going to have to take into consideration that mud. Versus I try not to create solutions that are based off of dealing with or meeting bad people in the middle, but instead to say, we know these people exist, now what? What are the good people going to do, / what are the healthy people going to do, / what are the people who are going to be aware do? And how do we do that? Because if I thought about conservatives, like if I always had to think about conservatives, it wouldn't allow me to create a space that actually got us any closer or liberated us further, because they're by nature stagnating. By nature, they're limiting. But I think like 90% of the world is conservative, right? So I think there's this part of it that I have radically accepted that the world won't change, but we should do something about it. So I'm glad that like, she's doing something about it in her lane or whatever. And I also have to, because of my work, say I don't like this video. Like respectfully, this is a bad video. And it's probably a great video for Taylor. Does that make sense? Two things can be true at the same time. This could be like a total banger for Taylor's work. And I'm just saying like, yeah, I can't pretend that this I think is a harmful video, right?
content posted on its site due to U.S. safe harbor protections that largely shield platform owners from direct liability for their users' uploads. Now, what they're talking about there is Section 230, and that's not what Section 230 does. Section 230 does not shield you from liability for illegal content, not even remotely. Also, once again, there's no evidence that any of the content that was found on Motherless was illegal or showed actual illegal content.
And even in the Telegram group, when they identify things that are very sketchy that should likely be investigated by authorities, like men saying that they're selling these like liquids that you can use to like drug your wife, none of those men are in the United States. They are all around the world.
Nobody thought they were in the United States. Of course, they were always around the world. That's why some of the victims interviewed were literally from the UK. Like, again, I never read that article and thought it was just about US men. I never saw any of this content and thought it was just about US men. Just because the world saw it that way doesn't mean the nature of the article was wrong, right? Or like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, do you see how this takes away space from victims? All this does is take all those women came to do interviews, put their faces on camera again, did interviews again in hopes to be heard. And here are two women spending their goddamn time on earth basically discounting those women's stories and say, hey, you did this for nothing. Hey, thanks for putting your name out there and your face out there, but you didn't do it for anything. Also, this article sucks. Jesus Christ.
World. All of the men in this story who are in this Telegram group chat, none of them are in the United States.
And this is why victims don't speak up. This is literally why victims don't speak up. And yeah, Chet says she's literally bursting out laughing. Why the fuck are they laughing so much? You know what it is? I'll tell you, it's misogyny. They have internalized misogyny. They are trying to be boys. And I, as a boy, will tell you, you are engaging in misogyny. You don't even know it because you think this is how boys tell stories. Men will be like, and they literally thought it was a website of like 62 men. It wasn't even 62 men. That's what you're doing. You're laughing to express absurdity, but the absurdity is that you're laughing while talking about women who are rape victims. That's the absurdity. And I'm saying, stop trying to be a boy, unless you are a boy, gender-wise, and we respect that, and start trying to be serious. It's a very serious topic. It's nothing is funny about this topic.
One of them is in this like unincorporated Spanish autonomous city off the coast of like West Africa. One of them is somewhere else in Africa. One of them I believe is in Sweden. Like they're in various countries around the world. So United States tech policy has no relationship to any of what is happening in this group chat or even on this website. And Motherless, which is not an American company, has been fined in its actual home country of Luxembourg. And so like, this argument is
Last year, the UK Communication Service regulator Ofcom investigated Motherless for the site's content, not for the site's content, but for its parent company, the Luxembourg-registered Kick Online Entertainment SA, allegedly failing to complete a suitable and sufficient illegal content risk assessment. Okay, so what's your point? Open an investigation in whether or not Kick Online Entertainment SA had put age checks in place to protect children from pornography. What's their point?
Nonsensical.
It's nonsensical, but it's so insidious because, you know, Lucy from You Should Care About wrote this whole terrible thing. And I wrote her this like long email, like, what the hell are you doing? Being like, this is why we need to repeal Section 230, you know, at feminist, this deranged Instagram account that was saying like, we need to repeal Section 230. As you mentioned, this is a website based in Luxembourg providing legal content where somebody.
Yeah, that shit might be weird. Okay, so that's the issue too. I don't care that it's not just about America. I think because she is about American policy, she is seeing a pattern, which is true, that conservatives are hiring people out of country to pretend to be Americans to engage in American policy. Like a lot of MAGA accounts are not even in America. So I agree with Taylor here that this is true and this is happening. I think the dilemma, though, is that feminism is a global thing. America impacts everybody. That people who don't live in America are also U.S. voters. Like, I am a U.S. voter. I live in Croatia. You know what I mean? So I understand. And I also understand this is also the debate we're always going to be having. I just feel like this video could have been made better. I just don't understand the point of this video. Like, what is the premise of the video? Debunking CNN's viral 62 million men hoax. What a fucking fuck you to victims. Like, what a big fuck you to victims. Debunking CNN's viral 62 men hoax. I mean, Taylor, you're making it sound like none of it was real, that there are no rape victims, that porn websites aren't taking advantage of people, that the porn, like, you're wiping away any ability to validate any victims in this situation.
The comments of one of these hundreds of thousands, if not millions of videos, posted a link to a Telegram group where people in, Africa and Sweden.
I guess Africa doesn't matter. I guess fuck that.
fuck Sweden, fuck whoever. Who cares where it is?
Sweden, we're discussing doing illegal activity. Like, none of this has anything to do with America. None of this.
We didn't think it had to do with America. That's what I'm saying. Who thought it had to do with America? When we covered this before it went viral, because my community covered this story before it went viral, none of us cared that it didn't center on America. We didn't even care. Like, why the fuck does that matter?
Has anything to do with Section 230. There's not any evidence that this is happening in America, although it probably, is just based on the horrible things that happen to women.
Probably is.
Telegram itself is also famously not an American company. Like, Telegram is, I believe, headquartered in the UAE right now and like jumps around the world, like to try to avoid legal liability.
Yeah. So it's just like taking all of this sort of stuff that's frankly not even illegal, but a lot of.
Look, maybe I'm wrong on this because Jess said the article made it sound like it was just America, but the article wasn't just about America. And the videos that got paired with the article weren't just about Americans. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying this whole story is a combination of video, interviews, and an article. This CNN article was not just an article. This was a whole effort to create interviews, resources. Even the people she mentioned in the article are not from America. The one woman whose husband killed herself, she's from the UK. That's what I'm saying. So what do you mean the article made it about America? If the victims featured in the article, do you know what I'm saying? It's a confusing thing to say.
The stuff that is illegal, like even some of the stuff that these men are saying, like, is it bad that a random man on an island off the coast of Africa, is chatting with several hundred other men about potentially assaulting a woman? Yes. But that's all that you found. You didn't find that man even assaulted.
That's all that you found. That's all that you found. But that's all that you found. You didn't even find that he assaulted somebody. Taylor, how did she feel about Monica Lewinsky? Does she think Monica Lewinsky gave consent?
Other men about potentially assaulting a woman? Yes. But that's all that you found. You didn't find that man even assaulted a woman. You didn't find who he is. You didn't find anything. And you're using all of that. And you're telling these sob stories of these women to then manufacture consent for the most dangerous authoritarian censorship and
sob stories of these women? Taylor! I'm unsubscribing. I can't. I'm unsubscribed. Taylor! Sob stories, Taylor? I'm stressed. I'm literally stressed. How do women fall for this time and time again? It really is your own, isn't it? It really is your own, isn't it? Damn, Taylor!
Surveillance laws that will be used to harm women here in America. And that's what's so disgusting to me.
Yeah. The idea that this is a reason to abolish or reform or take away Section 230 is exploiting victims' trauma and creating conflating statistics to create spectacle in the service of horrific tech policy that would disadvantage victims across the board. And just like anti-trans playbooks, just like, the Christian conservative right, it's all done under the guise of protecting women and girls so that they can further harm women and girls.
Yeah, it's so, not only...
You just called them sob stories. Now I don't believe you care about women and girls. Now I'm almost convinced, and I don't even think this is true, I'm being hyperbolic, that you're like those conservatives that say you care about kids, but you just hate trans people. Because why did you just call it a sob story? Are you not hearing the dog whistles in your own work, Habibi? If I didn't know you were on the left, I would think you were conservative. Are you a leftist? Why would you say that? But then I think this is the leftist problem. Leftists think because they're anti-capitalist that they're fucking woke about anything else. Woke in the black community way, not woke in the white people co-opting the word for their own use way. You know what I mean? That's crazy, bro.
Are these people completely intertwined with the anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ movement? Because Christian fundamentalists don't like the LGBTQ people, right? And they also don't like women's rights. But I just think it's so insidious because it's being put forward as this accountability, right? This the same way as you mentioned, right? These, a cis woman being assaulted in the UK or something is used as pretext to strip LGBTQ people of rights. It's well, that's not keeping women safe either.
Right, sure. And I agree with her. There are people, I always tell you guys, if I die, don't let my mother weaponize my death for conservative propaganda. Okay? Remember that I died a queer, gender fluid, sex working, content creator, philosophy girly. Don't ever, if I die, don't let my mother weaponize my death for any fucking bullshit conservative anything, okay? I agree with that. And yet, why do you have to say sob stories? Why do you gotta throw victims under the bus?
The headline, I think, is part of why the story.
And this is why I think yeah, Chat just said all these stories amidst the Epstein stuff makes you really wonder what it's gonna take for people to treat the topic with care and the serious it needs. Exactly, Chat. Hello? You know what I mean?
Like, but this is my criticism of a lot of leftists on the internet, where it really feels like they are not being careful with how they're talking because they're engaging with a lot of conservatives. Like Hassan does the same thing. Hassan is more than willing to like ignore transphobia and racism for the sake of fighting the right, because he's like, there's bigger problems. Guys, we have bigger problems. You know, and I'm just like, I think it's all connected. I think it might be, sir, all connected, bro. Like, you know, and I'm saying Taylor's doing the same shit. They always do the same fucking shit, where they're so focused on fighting conservatives that they end up throwing everybody under the bus in the process. And I'm like, Jesus fuck, lock in.
Story spread so far. It reads at the top.
And none of this is meant to take away Taylor's work. She does a lot of really good work. Hassan does a lot of really good work. I just like cannot get behind promoting them. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I can't get behind promoting them.
Of this article, exposing a global rape academy. In shocking group chats, men encourage one another to drug and assault their wives and swap tips on getting away with it. Again, horrible that happened, you know, that a couple hundred men are doing this on a group chat.
Then you did it again. It's a couple hundred men. Oh my God, that's horrible. Wow, that really sucks. Like 2 men are doing it. Oh, that really sucks. I think journalists should have to take psychology in school maybe, because like you're downplaying it. You're saying it's just a couple hundred guys. Who cares? As if it's ever going to be a couple hundred guys.
In wherever the hell they are. I think that the framing of a academy makes it sound like it's this industrialized thing. And I think that that language paired with the number 62 million men, which again is nonsense, really is meant to terrify people and make it seem like it's this like industrialized systemic thing that we need to, you know, abolish Section 230 in order to stop.
It was really shocking, like actually reading the article and seeing what the article was actually about after seeing a lot of these social media posts, because the way that they actually got the term, you know, academy is they interviewed an Italian politician who is a woman who has horrifically like suffered I believe a similar crime at the hands of a fellow politician, which is horrible. Again, has nothing to do with Motherless, nothing to do with this Telegram chat. And they interviewed this woman, and what it sounds like from the article is that they told her about this chat for the very first time. Like literally, it's the "you're telling me for the first time" meme, and she responded like, "It sounds like a academy."
I don't feel like the article was saying. The article was giving an example of how these things are all connected and how it's happening from regular people that you think are great people in your neighborhood, your fathers, your teachers, your friends, your husbands, your sons. And they're saying, I think when I read the article, when I saw the videos, I took it as, look at the way that we live in a rape culture, that it's normalized, it's in our media, it's in like, it's so, you know what I'm saying? This is why Euphoria, the last season, was so criticized, because of the way that it was like, the puppy play, the BDSM, the sex work stuff, like, ugh, the rape of the sex, teenagers having sex trope. Like, we're tired. We're not trying to be prudes. And this is the problem. This is why I say stop making fan cams of Hassan Piker. Stop, like, Hassan Piker should not be playing into this idea that everyone who ever talks to him wants to fuck him. This is a bad precedent to set, especially in a world where women aren't taking seriously for their ideas. So anytime we interact with these men, it's just like, oh, I bet she wants to fuck him. I bet they all want to fuck him. Like, Hassan haters just want to fuck him. Like, you're playing into you're not even allowing me to consent to the situation. Now I can't even have consensual interest in an adult, because if I do, oh, now I slept my way to the top. It's like, Jesus Christ. So like, again, when we have these conversations, I do think good people play into bad rhetoric to own the enemy, which is why I have no enemies. Because it will make me a worse person, as we're seeing displayed here. For the sake of owning the right, Hassan engages in bad rhetoric. What did he say about the N-word use? I don't care, bro. There's fucking, like, who cares, bro? You know, like, oh, who cares about that? Like, bro, I don't care, bro. Like, I actually love her more now, bro. I actually think she's fucking, I like her even more now, bro. Like, when you engage with this rhetoric, that's what the right thinks. That's how Trump rose to power. Oh, I love Trump. He says slurs. Oh, I love Trump. He doesn't care. Oh, I love Trump. He's a truth teller. Oh, I love Trump. He makes fun of everybody. Oh, yeah, I love Trump. Like, that's what I'm saying. You're using the same thing. So a conservative see you, and that's why they think you're a fucking fake. Because they go, so you agree. It is fun to make fun of people. You agree. You also want to make fun of people. That's the point. Well, you also want to say slurs. You also think they're not that big of a deal. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm saying, do we actually have a problem with this, yes or no? And this is what I talked about on when I was on that Do Not Worry podcast episode with the boys, is they asked me about this. I am not telling you what to say. I'm saying, if you keep talking like this, I'm going to assume you haven't deconstructed enough and or introspected and or extrospected and taken into consideration why people are upset with you over this take. Or why women might watch this and be like, uh-oh, Or why, if you have a majority male audience, they might be like, yes, this is it. This is beautiful. This is what I wanted to hear. If men are agreeing with you, you should question. Like if a majority of your audience is men and they're agreeing with you, you should absolutely question what you're doing. You should wonder. You should wonder. And that's the point. And it's not because men as an individual, it's men as a collective, men as a system. Because men as a system en masse have not deconstructed patriarchy. So if they feel safe with you, especially as a woman, there's a reason for that. That's why I pride myself every day in being 60 or 70% women watched.
And then that framing became experts are referring to this as a academy. And I'm like, no, they're not.
And by the way, disclaimer, I don't know Taylor's analytics. She could actually be watched by 90% women. It's just statistically unlikely, right? It's like, it's very unlikely. Actually, guys, give me 2 minutes, actually. Let me, since I just went on a monologue, let me pause right there. I'm going to be right back, okay? And then we'll continue watching because I realized we have a lot to go and I've been pausing too much. I'll be right back. All right, pausing music. 1, 2, 3. I will also say, I think if I, and again, I don't want to, I didn't make this content with the thought that Taylor would talk to me or something, even though I know Taylor knows who I am. That's not the intention of my work. My work is for you guys, first and foremost. It's not for creators, right? But I think, or journalists, but even so, with that said, if I did talk to Taylor, if I had one thing to ask her, if I had her, who is this for? Who is the video for? Who is the content for? When you sat down and made this video, who was the audience in mind? Because that really matters. Like how you talk to an audience matters. And I would ask her, like, who did you make this for? Obviously it wasn't rape victims. Okay, we know that. So then who was it for? And then that's what I would like to know. Because this is obviously not for victims. And this isn't for keeping victims safe. This video was not made with victims in mind. So then who was the video for? Right? Chet said the video is for people who are concerned with tech policy. Doubt it. Maybe. Like, that's the audience she wants. Like, she specifically is trying to get people on Patreon to support her who only care about tech policy. She's trying to grow a community of watchers who care about tech policy. So men, and mostly men who are probably capitalists, and mostly men who are probably investing in tech. So tech bros. Because the majority of those people invested in tech policy will be conservatives. Yes, there will be activists involved like her, but isn't she the minority? So is she, do you know what I'm saying? Like, is the majority, it feels, I'm confused when Taylor sits in a room. Is she trying to get more people interested in tech policy? Is she trying to already give it to the audience who cares about it now, which would be mostly conservatives? Is she trying to, what is she trying to do? Like, you know, in the same way that I ask anybody that question, right?
Like, this woman is an expert in many things, but this Telegram group chat and this website, she is not. She was literally just like hearing about it.
She's just a random Italian politician who was assaulted by another Italian politician. Once again, none of this has anything to do with Motherless. It has nothing to do with the internet. It's horrible what happened to her. But CNN going to her, being like, here's what's happening. And who knows what they told her about this group and the inflammatory way they presented it. She says, it sounds like this. They don't even say, actually, that's not how it happened. Actually, there's no lesson plans. Actually, this is not some systemized thing. This is just a group chat of random men in random places around the world, sort of like living out these fantasies. And that's the headline. Then they put that in the headline. And it makes it sound like, again, there are 62 million men that have
62 million visits a month reveal an online community of men sharing abusive, unconscious women.
enrolled.
I mean,
in some sort of formal program to assault women, which is a horrifying prospect, but it's just simply not what's happening.
It feels to me like psychological warfare.
It is happening in some places. We know it is happening. We know there. I don't understand why she keeps saying it's not happening. Because what that says, Taylor, when people hear you say it's not happening, they're hearing it never happens anywhere and it's never existed. But we know it's happening because that CNN journalist was in one of the groups. And then they found somebody did something and the group got deleted and it restarted again. It does exist. It was there.
Against women to make us really frightened and scared and more in favor of reactionary politics that are ultimately against our best interests. Like it feels very insidious because I spoke to women in the weeks after this article came out who were genuinely very frightened.
Does she think the Epstein files what does she think the Epstein files were? Does she think that's an organization? You know what I mean? No arrests, but all these victims are barely any arrests. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, is that not? She's acting like sex work or these groups of people don't have collectives. She's thinking it's just randos, but there is a collective. There is people doing business. There is interesting. I mean, maybe she just defines it different.
At what they believed to be true. And it just is so unfortunate because it distracts us and deflects from a lot of real systemic issues and points us in the direction of fake solutions that are actually going to hurt us.
Yeah, I mean, I typed the word 62 into TikTok and what do you get? 62 million men academy. And there's just endless videos of people saying 62 million men, 62 million men. This is something we need to do. This woman says 62 million men had an academy on how to drug and assault their wives. Nope, that didn't happen. That straight up did not happen.
When people use the...
Yeah, but that's just like we know, but we also know that these people didn't have bad intentions. Like, they just misunderstood that there wasn't a literal organization found. But you cannot say there aren't 62 million men on the planet who are probably engaging in this behavior. And so, I understand they misunderstood it because people have a literacy problem. And also, just correct them and say, oh my God, that's horrifying. I'm glad, definitely happening. The article clicks on a website or they found these groups, but instead you're making it sound like it never happened, that it cannot happen, that you're exaggerating. You sound like conservatives who are like 1 in 4 men are not raping people, Brittany. 1 in 4 women are not being raped. Okay, again, you're doing that thing. She's doing that thing. It's a thing where people want to be extra, extra accurate in a world that still believes God in the sky is opening their pickle jars. Do you know what I mean? I want you to be accurate too, but while you're busy trying to be accurate, you're throwing us under the bus. Okay, fun fact. The vegan teacher showed up on my second channel and I blocked her right away because she's like, we need to own words again. And she used the hard R with a little girl, a little black doll, like a little black girl, a doll next to the N word, and then wrote like nice, intelligent, and then she has the audacity to show up in my chat after I called her out for being racist in a video to write something about veganism. I do not want her associated with my work. I will block her. Why will I block her? Because even though we both want to minimize animal cruelty, I do not want to work alongside a racist. Even though Taylor and I might want to fight for victims, I cannot promote Taylor's work and send this to people because it sounds like she doesn't care about victims. And I don't want to think that's how Taylor thinks, but I know for a fact I'm questioning now. Do you know what I'm saying? Now I'm questioning. Now, the vegan teacher, I already know she's racist, so she's done. Okay? And anyone who supports her, you know what I'm saying? But that's what I'm trying to say about Taylor is like, girly, how can I send, who am I supposed to send this video to? Tell me, Taylor, if Taylor could tell me, who in my life should I send this video to? Should I send it to my conservative MAGA parents that already think Trump isn't a rapist? Should I send it to my brothers who are questioning whether or not Andrew Tate is better or / Republicans are smarter than Democrats? Should I send it to who? My leftist friends who have been victimized and or know somebody who's been raped? Who is this video for? Who do I send it to? Who is this video educating or benefiting? Which person needs to watch this video? Who?
Phrase academy. It reminds me of Andrew Tate's Hustlers University.
Speak of the fucking devil. Speak of the literal fucking devil.
Where he was instructing like his followers on sort of how to like sexually exploit women online. And even Andrew Tate, who has obviously one of the most prolific, academies for doing this, it's nowhere near 62 million men. Like, the idea that this is a real thing is
Girl, you just sounded like you defended Andrew Tate. You literally just sounded like you're like, you know what, do they not hear themselves?
Is so obviously like almost like propagandistic in nature. And yeah, it's really disturbing. It's really disturbing that this went so far.
But CNN knows what it's doing, right? And I mean, I think like it's really important to note that these major, massive media organizations are lobbying for Section 230 repeal. Like they are part of these lobbying groups that directly want to repeal Section 230. It is in their business interest to dismantle free speech on the internet so that we all go back to 1995 and we can only get our information from traditional media. And, I'm not arguing that necessarily the reporters involved in this story know that, it's not like some top-down thing, but that is how these stories are uplifted in these mainstream media organizations. This story was not just a regular story. It has this interactive graphic. They put so much money behind it. They did endless social promotion for it.
Exactly, chat. This is like your neurodivergent friend getting caught up on the detail that they literally can't comprehend the larger point being made. 1000%. This is as an autistic woman, this is what it reminds me of. And I said when I first reviewed this story, I said, hey, I know we're all autistically into details, but if you let yourself loop on this detail, you're going to hurt a lot of people in the process. In your own private life, loop on it. In public, when you're making content, focus. Because that's what's happening, and it's really coming at the expense of so many people.
We're doing media outreach for it. They made this huge thing, and it's spread to this just degree that it's so hard to even combat. Like by the time, what is that saying? Like a lie spreads around the world before the truth puts on its shoes. That's how it feels. Where like it feels so fruitless, and I keep waiting for somebody to come in and say like, oh, that's all false. But here it's been almost 2 months.
It's all false. It's all false. Taylor, see how she's like, oh, it's all false. I'm waiting for somebody to say it's all false. How can it be all false if we've seen interviews with women? I don't understand.
And the stat has just been incorporated into the internet and is being used by people that are claiming to be progressive to dismantle Section 230, something that far-right Christian fundamentalists are behind. Like that is not a progressive stance to have. And yet you literally have @feminists pushing it.
And also like CNN is soon going to be run by the horrible Paramount murder where you now have like Bari Weiss in charge of CBS News. And it's like increasingly just becoming a mouthpiece for Trump's administration. And it's like, so at the exact same time that these media organizations are pushing to restrict the amount of sources of information we have access to, which is of course in their best interest, these news organizations are also being essentially like overtaken and weaponized by like fascist governments. And the reason why they use this type of like emotional sort of propaganda aimed at making women really fearful about like adult websites is because it is so effective. And going back to Layla Micklethwait and Exodus Cry, the woman in the group that like pushed this anti-motherless campaign, Layla is an expert at this because she is previously one of the most instrumental people in pushing the campaigns against Pornhub. And she used the exact same type of viral tweet material. I've come across so many viral tweets from her over the years, basically like conflating all adult content with sexual violence. And because of that, like Pornhub now has to have this really restrictive like age verification software. And that has become the model for the entire internet, where like these are the movements that start to break down the barriers that will eventually lead to like federal oversight of everything we do online.
Which is what they want.
Yes. And the other playbook that these people are also simultaneously running and have done very successfully is also the anti-abortion playbook, because this is exactly how they have made it so that not only have we lost the federal right to an abortion, but increasingly like pregnancy and women's bodily autonomy is being surveilled by, again, fascist governments. So if you think that this is going to help women, ask yourself, does Donald Trump's administration have women's best interests at heart? Are these the people who are going to protect women's free speech and right to bodily autonomy? No, of course not. But if people fail to step back for 1 second and look at the bigger picture here and look at who these movements truly benefit at the end of the day.
I also think that the number and the scale and the way that they make it seem so mechanized is meant to kind of disenfranchise people and like make it so that they don't need to take action. Like a couple hundred men in a group chat is actually something that people could meaningfully take action on. But 62 million men feels overwhelming. It feels like, well, then
when you verbalize, oh, it's just a couple hundred men, you're saying, oh, we don't need to worry about it. It's such a small problem. We don't have to worry about it. But if it's 62 million men, and not that, I mean, it is definitely globally, let's be real. It's definitely 62 million men. But then it like shocks you. That's why that's why it went viral so fast, because it was so shocking. It wouldn't be shocking for there to be a group chat with 200 men. It went viral because it was so shocking. And people started to really like rethink stuff. But they should have been doing that anyways, because it's always been millions of men, billions of men and women upholding patriarchy that comes at the expense of victims, that doesn't allow people to come out and speak about their traumas because you downplay it and say, oh yeah, but like this porn website needs to stay up. And yes, Trump is like found liable for sexual assault. Half the Trump administration has been found out, like his religious leaders, like people in his groups. And right, I understand coming from a conservative home, they blame everything on porn. And the truth is, even in leftist circles, yeah, the porn industry is incredibly rapey. It's not the creation of porn, but it is the porn industry. It's not the drug itself, but it is the cartels and the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah, it's the systems that are the problem. This is a systematic issue, and you keep downplaying it like it's not. It is, and it's coming right from the top. And it's impacting everybody.
Need a law, right? We need somebody in power to step in. And it's like, no, actually, it's just that you found like actually a pretty small group of men. Now they're scattered around the world.
She did it again. Small group of men. She did it again.
It would be hard for you to do something about it in America, but you could call the local precincts in these different.
Girl, we can't even get the president. You know what I mean? People are talking about a third term. You know what I mean? Like her language is acting like victims who can't get justice every time they go and report one rapist, let alone 200.
Different countries and probably get a lot of these men arrested if they were actually doing something wrong.
If they were doing something wrong. Definitely get these men arrested if they were doing something wrong. I'm going to be brave and say it. You cannot trust white women. You cannot trust them.
Yes. And to your point that you made earlier on, Taylor, like when people see these types of behaviors documented online, they feel like the problem is that these online platforms exist. But really, if you like look at this from the direction of like, what can you do that's
I'm making a little bit of a joke. Okay. I'm making a little bit of a joke, but Jesus Christ.
Productive.
This is just so strange. This whole video feels so surreal. See, this is why I keep falling off her content. Every time I go, oh, I kind of miss Taylor, I subscribe and then I go, and I'm done. I want to like Taylor so badly.
this now creates like actual evidence for people to investigate, for people to even know that these crimes are occurring. And I completely agree with you. I think that like 62 million men is a number that you cannot do anything about. It is like a thought terminating cliche in that regard, because it's just like all men are evil, end sentence, period, right there, which is a very reactionary mindset that a lot of people are like kind of being herded into. But yeah, in addition to that, you could absolutely like work to find each of these men, to track them down, to like reach their partners, to investigate, to hold them accountable. But actually that's a lot of work, and people would just rather make a viral TikTok being like, all men are evil, like and subscribe.
Well, also it's like, as you
I actually was like so impressed with how many people were horrified, and they started to make content about it. Speaking up, men started to make content about it, started to like confirm that their own lived experience reflected this reality. And now they're saying it never existed, but men are coming out and making TikToks and saying like, yeah, honestly guys, like I've seen group chats, or my guys have told me, our boys have told me, like men literally came out because this number, even though it ended up being technically wrong, actually confirmed their own lived experience of dealing with men in their own life. So you say that these people making TikToks are lazy, and that might be a part of it. But first of all, lazy is a construct. But more than that, these men were like, oh, actually, this makes sense for how my life has gone. Okay? There are boys, okay, who when girls shared nudes with them, they put it in a shared folder and all the guys have access to it. And that is happening with regular boys. Regular teenage boys, regular college boys, people are doing that. And that might not be to Taylor like some great deep organization, and I agree it's not a syndicate crime, crime syndicate, but it is what the CNN article is trying to point out. A group of entitled men who are supposed to be the safest people you can trust, that you are vulnerable with, taking advantage of you, and in the worst way possible. Hello?
Said, it's about villainizing the platform instead of the behavior. The problem here, right, like the examples they use of women that were assaulted in this way in the article, none of that has anything to do with this platform. None of it has anything to do with the Telegram group. None of it has anything to do with anything that they're conflating it with. And by the way, these men were held accountable in each case. But it's worth noting that the majority of victims, because of the nature of this specific crime, the victimization happens from somebody that the woman is intimate with, usually, a partner, a husband, etc. It's somebody that they know IRL.
Pause. Chat says, you could say that you guys are talking about me. You said you guys could say the same thing about Brittany. She has a philosophical mission and is brushing away Taylor's policy activism. I'm not brushing it away. I'm saying I want to root for her. Your policy action is coming at the expense of victims, so it doesn't matter now, because that's what we've always done forever. When has it ever worked? Name one time in political history it has ever worked and maintained that throwing marginalized people under the bus has actually liberated minority communities. How many men have raped women and women have stayed silent to protect the movement, only for us to realize it didn't matter? It's going to happen again, and every time after. And Taylor is participating in the same structure that we've been fighting against, because it keeps happening, and we're sick of it. And I'm saying, do something different. You want to be radical? Be radical. There's nothing radical about Taylor's work. She's exactly doing what the status quo is. She's engaging in it just like Hasan is engaging with Democrats. You want to be radical? Be unliked. You want to be radical? Then do something. You are way too goddamn liked and way too goddamn famous and way too goddamn loud and wrong. And it's coming at the expense of all of these victims. And now this chatter in chat is like, what about Taylor's work? I already gave credit to her work. I already said she did a lot of great work. What does that matter when it comes at the expense of victims ultimately? She wants to protect people, start doing the right thing. I want to believe in Taylor. I want to be her biggest fan. I want to speak this loudly in favor of Taylor. But don't come in my chat and say Brittany's doing the same thing when my work is specific. And it is about calling out these people who, with their good intentions, will burn the world down. The world is paved in good, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. And that Christian lady is one of them. Her and Taylor might as well be best friends. They better start a podcast right now called Frenemies. Okay? Because you both have, quote, good intentions. And who's it coming at the expense of? Victims. Christians will always, at the expense of victims, promote their bullshit. Taylor sounds like she's doing the same thing. And I'm saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? What is Hasan doing? What are all these people doing? They're doing it. And I'm saying I will, at the expense of my career, at the expense of money and fame and networking, always side with the victim. That is the decision I have made. And I think it is the right decision. I'm not saying you have to do it, but I'm saying I will, at the expense of even moving policy forward, always defend the victim. Because policy was never going to save them in the first place. It never has. When has policy saved indigenous communities? When has policy ever saved LGBT people? When is policy ever going to be the reason that our people are ever truly liberated? If bigoted people fight every day and well-intentioned people fight every day with bigoted people about, quote, how we deserve rights. So no, at the expense of being that person, I would rather always protect the victim. And look, in the past, anytime I didn't prioritize the victim, I came across like Taylor. Every time I always put victims aside for the quote greater good, I always regretted it. And I will not do that anymore. So either understand what I'm doing here or actually like accept that you don't care about victims over quote, whatever utilitarian argument you're making in your head. Victims matter more than your ego, more than your wallet, more than your fame, and more than your fucking policy.
It's not like random men are, going and like, I mean, roofing people is a thing, but like, it's not like this specific sort of like sleep content stuff is like that pervasive, I would say, as a form of assault towards.
The sleep content is related to the rape content, is related to people mistaking porn for reality. It's connected to the way little boys are being raised in red pill communities. It's all connected, Taylor. You should know, you do internet stuff. It's all connected. And acting like this sleep content isn't specifically, it's the aftermath and result of everything leading up to it, which is also patriarchal entitlement, which is also misogyny, which is also this idea that women are never really raped because even rape victims want it. Okay? You are playing into this narrative. Okay? Oh, laughing about how all these women are literally like, it's fake. It's obviously fake. It can be, you can be a porn actress consenting to a scene and be raped in the middle of the scene. You can be a person who looks like you're consenting and not consenting. Many people assume, we talk to people every day that go like, bro, I thought he was sober. He had a full conversation with me. I have conversations with my partner all the time and I forget that they're sleep talking. I'm like, we talked about this yesterday, and they go, oh, was I asleep? I'm like, fuck. Like, you think a person is awake. You think a person is talking to you. They're not. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are you downplaying the reality that like these women have come forward? The videos are there. People have said it's happened to them. You have to understand that what you think you're seeing isn't always what you're seeing. For her to downplay it is so ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous.
Women, there are other forms of assault that are more pervasive. This is really something that's like between a husband and a wife, right? Or between a partner. And instead of focusing on prosecuting that or saying like, hey, we need an education. Hey, we need to educate people that like, actually, just because a man is your husband, that doesn't give him the right to assault you. Here's an education campaign. Here's what we can do. Instead, they're focusing on villainizing the platforms, not the men. And that's really disturbing too, because it's like, oh, all these men are evil. What can we do? Hold the platforms accountable. It's like, but the platforms didn't do any of this. I don't doubt that they're not doing, that they're the most responsible platforms on earth. But like, again, this is like, call the Luxembourg government, you know what I mean? And get some accountability if you want some content taken down. But otherwise, like, this is not a problem.
And this is not a problem. Otherwise, this is not a problem. And then somehow people did say they were upset with Taylor for fighting so hard for the websites. Yeah, it feels very confusing to me. I think I'm very confused about her. How is this moving into her leftism? These companies and platforms are results of like capitalism. And if you're anti-capitalism, protecting these platforms is capitalistic. Like, that's what the platforms want. But what you want is a place for people to exist in a free way, separate from government intervention. Is she confusing freedom of speech with these platforms existing? Is she like confusing? What is she confusing? What am I confusing?
Does feed back into that sort of like Christian mentality around sexual violence, which is to actually cover it up so that you can protect it. Because at the end of the day, what all of these groups want to happen is they want this information to be scrubbed from the internet. They don't want us to be able to identify the problem or document the problem. They want it to essentially get covered up. Like, the idea around content moderation is that it's often presented as like the ultimate form of accountability. But in reality, what's happening is that they're taking down the evidence and not even doing anything about the perpetrator.
Sure. And I agree that those things are happening. I don't want to ever say that it isn't, that ICE videos aren't being taken down or videos of Israel committing genocide isn't being censored. Like, those things are very important. And I think it's very dangerous to allow these people to censor us, right? I think it's important that people have the right to spread protest information, activism information, have the right to express themselves on social media. I agree with all of that, right? I don't understand why this video couldn't have been made without demonizing or ignoring or playing like the numbers aren't important. Like, why did this video have to be made at the expense of rape victims? And if you watch Taylor talk about Contra and Josh's video, it's really, really good. And it's on her stream channel. It's very different. You know what I mean? I don't know why this video had to be made this way. Why didn't the video start off with 2:30 and how 2:30? If the title of the video should have been debunking CNN's viral 62 million hoax, which is a fucking deplorable title. It should have been called how 2:30 is impacting the way you read the news. Something like that. Like how like, but you see, that wouldn't have been as clickable, right? But then now I've clicked on the video and I'm saying like, you're not, I'm unsubscribing.
So these solutions are actually cover-ups.
Right, exactly. First of all, again, there is no evidence that any of this content on Motherless is criminal. But if it was, what CNN is advocating for is for that content to be taken down, not for the men assaulting their wife to be prosecuted. Like, that's a systemic.
Yes, because the websites are helping facilitate the content. I also think YouTube should have taken down the vegan teacher's video with the N-word. Yeah, honestly, call me a fucking anti-free speech advocate. Why the fuck am I having to watch a white woman put a little black doll next to the N-word and then play in our faces like it isn't fucking racist? Like, I know you want free speech and I get it, but sometimes I think America really fucking is so fucking a joke. How are you talking about free speech and arresting students for protesting Israel? You know what I'm saying? Like, fucking get fucking real, bro. Get fucking real. That's what I feel like. This is so stupid. Be a fucking adult and know there is a fucking difference between advocating for free speech against the government and recognizing that people are uploading harmful fucking content to the internet for no fucking reason. And it's like, it's bullshit, bro. It's fucking bullshit.
The fix that they want is to repeal Section 230. It just makes me so mad. And I don't know how to change the conversation. Like, hopefully people are still listening to this podcast episode and can go out and be like, hey, did you see that viral claim? Guess what? It's total bullshit. But like, I don't know. I mean, when I look through on TikTok, like, these videos have millions of views. These are like leftist and progressive and like feminist content creators that are spreading this slop. Like, I don't know how we can like change the narrative or how to get people on the left to like wake up and see that like aligning yourself with far-right Christian nationalists because it seems quote unquote like tough on tech in some way is such a losing, stupid battle. And like, you're about to take away all of our rights.
People like Layla Mickelwait and like these ultimately like these conservative groups, they can always rely on two things, which is like anti-women sentiment and also anti-adult content sentiment. And so many of their like culture wars are driven by that because they don't even have to do that much work because the population is already there, like already wanting to support these viewpoints. And unfortunately, people also don't listen to adult content creators because if they did, and if they listen to like just anyone who knows anything about like technology, they would know that FOSTA SESTA actually like made it much harder for the police to go after traffickers. And SESTA FOSTA actually made the internet less.
That's fine. Like, but that's the thing. You're not even explaining it in this video, what 230 is and how you know what it is? Okay, got it. They are making this video as if we know what you're talking about. Those people who made those TikToks had very good intentions and did not realize they were in any way spreading anything that was connected to right-wing propaganda because right-wing propaganda doesn't care about rape victims. The story was told about having empathy for rape victims. So when you go and make this video attacking those people, it's confusing. We don't know what you're talking about. So I understand it a little bit. I've watched a few of your videos this morning, but you're not explaining it in this video. Instead, you're going after, once again, rape victims. Because most of those people who are making those videos were either rape victims or people who were talking about victims or men who were talking about, yeah, like I've seen chat groups with guys, like it's really horrible out here. And so when you're attacking those people and you're saying, oh my God, I can't believe liberals and leftists are doing this, protecting rape victims, advocating for rape victims, you can't believe they're doing this? And yes, of course they hate big tech. We all hate big tech. The fact that you don't is very confusing to me. Do you not hate big tech? I know you're thinking about like, you won't have a job if Google goes away. I'll have another job. I'll have a job. See, I'm not worried about maintaining my job. I'm worried about doing the right thing. I'm saying like, if a better world looks like a world without skyscrapers, I don't need a skyscraper. This feels like when men say, but like, if women were in charge of the world, we would be living in huts. What's wrong with a hut? Is it a cute hut? I'm saying I want to do the right thing and want to see what the aftermath looks like. But this is why I don't consume or argue with conservatives, because they're never good faith. And the fact is, you turn to a good faith community and attack them instead of talking to them in good faith. They don't know what they don't even know what you're talking about. This is what it feels like. Who is this video for? Because the only people who are going to feel empowered by this video will be people who will end up creating, because the content does naturally, content that sounds like you're saying rape doesn't matter, which is what you've been saying this whole video. Small numbers, doesn't matter, not happening, not there, it's a lie, none of this is true. All of that is negative language. That means none of this is meant to, we don't have to worry about this.
Safe for these adult content creators, and it also led to massive waves of censorship and deplatforming of even feminist creators. So it's like you have these big feminist accounts literally like advocating for their own demise, and a lot of them unfortunately don't even know it and aren't willing to like hear that.
Well, yeah, for people that don't know and didn't watch my whole series on Section 230, I have a whole episode on FOSTA SESTA. FOSTA SESTA is the first major carve out to Section 230. So everything that these people have been saying in this CNN article, like, oh, we just need to repeal Section 230, we need to chip away at Section 230 protections.
Yeah, sob stories.
Look, guys, we did that a decade ago, literally, in 2018, and we created this massive carve out to Section 230. It was framed as holding big tech accountable. All of these conversations, I feel like I'm in a time warp or something. We literally had all this. That's what they did. They made this huge carve out to Section 230. What did it do? Not only did it not hold big tech accountable, the big tech companies are more powerful today than ever, but it resulted in the mass deplatforming of progressive content on the internet.
It just means that if I was a conservative and I was going to weaponize this video, I would take it and say, even Taylor Lorenz doesn't think it's a problem. That's how I would use this video if I was a conservative. I'd be like, oh my God, look, even Taylor Lorenz, one of the most outspoken journalists, even they say it's not a problem. Even she's saying it's not a problem. You know what I mean?
And I would argue emboldened Trump's movement to an insane degree. And when people talk now too about like how young people are more conservative or like, there's some,
which by the way is what happened to Christian Divine. Christian made the 62 million video, came back to correct himself, and then all of the misogynist red pill guys used it to say even Christian Divine says it's not happening. Look at, you guys are none of you are about facts. Notice that it was weaponized by people wearing crosses, people who are Christian, people that were trying to point out that women are not being raped and women are not victims at this level. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying there are multiple groups here interacting with each other. So Taylor's concerned about the right-winged policy holders. I'm concerned with the right-wing neighbors, people you're dating, community members, because they are hearing this and saying, yeah, none of this is a problem. And I'm saying if Taylor wants to fight right-wing policy, she needs to not attack leftists with good intentions. She needs to go for the right wing and say, don't you try to convince people. Don't you try to confuse people. You know what you're doing. Instead it was, look at these leftists. Look at these feminists. Look at these people spreading misinformation. She should have, that's what I'm saying. Why are you yelling at us? Go yell at them. They're the ones who muddied the water.
Much like puritanical kind of belief online, and young people are becoming more modest, etc. Like abstinence is on the rise. Like I think you cannot separate that from FOSTA SESTA and the fallout.
Chad said if I was a conservative, I would clip the video with Britney saying, I can't promote Taylor Lorenz and I'm subscribing to push for internet regulation. Why are you one of my members? Why are you here? Why do you always take me in bad faith? Like, why do you always do this? Are you here because you want to bother me? Honestly, I think I'm going to block you. I've tried so hard to interact with you. I've tried so hard to give you a space in this community. My community has tried so hard to be nice to you. You have continually misconstrued what I've said, and you keep saying, but I support both Britney and Taylor. I'm not sure you have enough understanding of anything to support anything. I have tried to be so good faith with you, okay? My community has tried to be so good faith with you. Why are you here? Why are you even trying? You have one more chance to leave a comment, and this is your final warning. If I see one more stupid fucking thing come out of your face when I've been so good faith and patient with you, I'm going to block you. Chad says the same way. Oh, he said the same way you misconstrue Taylor. Okay, bye-bye. Thanks for being here. If you're a member, I'll block you too, girls. Don't piss me off. We're talking about rape victims, and you're out here like, actually? Okay, don't piss me off. I will block you.
And the deplatform.
See, example, victims over my paycheck. I just blocked a paying member, and I'll do it every fucking time.
platforming of adult content, of sexuality, feminism, of abortion, of all of this stuff, because our internet is getting sanitized. Like the Christian nationalists are winning.
They are winning. And like this anti-adult content sentiment is so bizarre to see like flourish so much in these like feminist progressive spaces, because it literally does sound like Mike Johnson, like the Speaker of the House who tracks his corn consumption alongside his son. While at the exact same time, like defending and protecting Donald Trump. We all know what Donald Trump has been accused of.
Exactly.
Like, it's very obvious that this anti-adult content ideology is to obfuscate from actually holding people who commit acts of sexual violence accountable. And so it's so frustrating to see it just like flourish on the left instead of holding perpetrators accountable. Like people will always take the easy way out of just like finding something to demonize instead of like the actual abusers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's where I just have to go back to this just appalling coverage in the You Should Care About newsletter, which really bothers me because it's like a huge progressive, allegedly, newsletter.
Eleanor, thank you so much for the super chat. Says just grabbing my coffee. Yum, 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 yum. Drink some for me.
After explaining,
Thank
you know,
for
the
super
62
chat.
million men and conflating all of this stuff and kind of doing a poor job of communicating the story, there's this giant subhead and it says, why is any of this legal? If you're anything like me, reading this might make you want to put your fist through something. Well, Motherless is operating completely within the law. It's shielded by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And it just goes on and on and on.
Hold on. Source shit you should care about. Okay, so I think Taylor's taking like a radical all things should be on the internet thing, but I don't understand where the line is. Again, this isn't my lane, so I'll let her take care of that. And I also think conservatives have a really good way of making things sound so fucking common sense, but it's not. And I also think leftists can also say these things and not mean to censor people. I think I'm also allowed to say, how the fuck is this shit ending up on websites and what can we do to prevent it? I think I'm also allowed to say, okay, I'll give you the weirdest example. You know, on TikTok, how people are like, oh, TikTok's just a bunch of teenagers dancing. Okay, I never get those videos. Why? Because I curate my algorithm feed to never feed me those videos. Okay, what does happen every year, and what I always end up saying, don't recommend, is prom season, because it's, I think, under fashion or queer or LGBT, is I get a bunch of prom videos of teenagers, and I say don't recommend, because I don't want to watch teenagers, even if they look fabulous. I think it's really weird that a bunch of adults are like, oh my God, you look so good, you look so handsome, hot, love this. And I'm like, why are you commenting on prom videos? Unless you're a teenager, you should not like leave these kids alone. And I think like that is my personal stance on interacting with young people on the internet, is I try not to interact with their content because it's not for me. I'm 37 fucking years old. You know what I mean? I do not need to be liking prom photos of even LGBT people, even LGBT teens. I love you guys. Go have fun with people your age. Okay? Do not recommend TikTok, because I, again, love to see you thrive, but like, those prom photos are so cute. They're like get readies with me, or like a before and after. But obviously the kids are feeling themselves. And the kids are like, you know, and they're like, it's cute, but it's like not for me. Okay? Yeah, have fun, my little gay babies. Have fun, gay babies. And I love them so much. But I think there's a line where I can say that without being like, oh, adults and children can never be around each other because adults are always predatory. Like, I feel like I can say, let's focus on protecting the kids without you guys being like, oh, that's what conservatives are going to weaponize. God forbid I don't want children on my Discord. Like, my Discord has been 18 plus all of these years because I don't want kids on the Discord, and Patreon punishes me for it. And now with Discord doing this policy, I can't even utilize it because half my patrons are worried about what Taylor Lorenz is worried about, which is fair, that they're weaponizing our good hearts for control. But Jesus Christ, can we do nothing without it being a trick? And if not, then can I not try to do something to protect kids? It's like, if everything good I attempt to do is actually a trick, oh, you shouldn't recycle, and that actually ends up in a landfill. Oh, you shouldn't age restrict. That actually just gives big business into your, like, the government into your business. Oh, you shouldn't actually do that. Fuck. Can I do nothing? Is there nothing I can do? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. How am I supposed to advocate without somebody being like, it was like the vegan argument the other day, where people are like, oh, veganism is anti-indigenous. And indigenous people are like, I'm vegan, I'm indigenous. It's like, oh, veganism is actually crop deaths. It's like, fuck. Can we not like find a way to like fucking, you're basically tying my hands. And I'm saying, okay, what can we do then? Is there anything? No? Okay, well, fuck me. That's why I like philosophy, because I know there's something to do philosophically. I don't know what to do policy-wise, but I can give you 1,000 answers philosophically.
It's shielded by Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And it just goes on and on and on. And I'm infuriated. I wrote her this like long email. She, of course, did not respond to me. But like, first of all, again, Motherless is based in Luxembourg. There's nothing illegal that's been found to be on Motherless. This is not a U.S. law problem.
And if there were videos on Motherless depicting these types of crimes, it would already be illegal. These crimes are not legal. That's why they're called crimes. They're already illegal. They don't get prosecuted. That's the problem. People think we need more laws. We need to actually enforce the laws that already exist.
Hold on. Chat says if we enable censorship, what safeguards would be in place against... We already have censorship. Right? I agree with you. Like, what things will be in place to make sure conservatives don't weaponize it against us? We already have censorship. We already have 18 plus things. We already have nudity laws. We already have what's on TV. America, with peace and love, US is uniquely fucking stupid in everything that they do compared to the rest of the world, who sees us as fucking just so fucking stupid. Okay? We're so prudish. We're one of the most sex-obsessed, sex-repressed countries in the fucking world. You know, we like to make fun of Muslim countries. You might as well be the same. You are all so fucking repressed. And what I'm trying to say is like, I agree that we don't want conservatives weaponizing censorship. They will weaponize anything, though. Anything. That's what I'm saying. You can't actually stop regulating drug use or porn or age-restricting content because conservatives will weaponize it. I'm saying, what is the solution other than we all have to, exist in a world where all of this is, Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying and again, that's why I don't work with policy. That's why I don't work in government. Because again, the hope is we would be good faith enough to engage in sort of an understanding of who are we protecting and what's the point. The issue I have with this video is not the policy conversation. It's the way she's talking about rape victims. Because it plays into rape culture. I agree with all of you. I agree with Taylor. Policy is important, but I don't know why you need to throw rape victims under the bus to push good policy. Because now, even though I agree with you, I'm so fucking annoyed with you, and now I can't share this video with anybody. Because if I share this video with somebody, it's going to look like I don't care about rape victims. And I care more about policy. And I don't. I don't care about policy more than I care about rape victims. I care about rape victims first, and I want policy to follow those victims. I want the policy to benefit victims and benefit marginalized communities and everybody, right? But you're thinking policy first, people second. And I'm saying, give me the people argument and then give me the policy. Okay? Okay. Chet says, how can they be so certain about not allowing rape content? Because they said it. I think they are skilled enough to cover it up. And people who found the content, that's what I'm saying. Like, we act like shit isn't all over the internet. Like, again, I'm not saying there isn't a solution here. I'm saying this video was badly made. Do we know that? Like, I want that to be the difference. This is a bad video. I think the same content could have been made in a better way, but this is a bad video.
All of this stuff has been illegal for decades.
And Section 230 does not protect illegal content. So it's just like, again, it's this complete misunderstanding and this kind of like these people that just hear buzzwords, I guess, and they just like vomit them out and to so much harm. But it's infuriating. And I think we're seeing it kind of come for the rest of the internet.
Are you just mad at them for falling for, so then you're saying they fell for the propaganda of the right wing, but why are you mad at them for falling for propaganda when that was exactly what conservatives wanted? Be mad at conservatives. You're mad at the, you know what I'm saying?
Like there's blood in the water. And now that the story's gone incredibly viral, it's like people want follow-ups. People are posting about this. And it kind of reminds me of actually conversations around 4chan and some of these incel forums where people will be like, young men are getting radicalized online. And that's why we need to hold social media companies accountable. Then you dig into a lot of the coverage of this stuff and you see that a lot of the extreme content is actually not hosted on YouTube. It's not hosted on Instagram. These platforms have been so effectively sanitized. It's on these like forums, right? It's on like incel forums. It's on these small places that don't have algorithms, don't have social media addiction, don't have any of the problems like, the social media addiction case that they hold up as like examples of like, how it's harming children and all this stuff. So they hold up all those examples of features on social media, but then you're like, okay, so where's the harmful content? Oh, well, actually the harmful content's on this other website that actually doesn't have any of those features. That's just a small niche forum that's actually hosted in like South Africa or Russia and only gets, 2,000 visits a month.
Okay, Chatter, I'll engage with you one time in good faith. And if you respond in bad faith, I'm going to block you. Okay? That's my rule. You said policy, like abortion rights, so you don't care about policy, a policy that protected victims. This might be your first time here. Of course I care about policy. I think it's very important. I said I care about people first and then policy. See how I care about two things at once? I care about people first and then I care about policy. I care about you and then I care about the things that matter second. Okay? If somebody came to me and said, Brittany, do you care about what I look like? I don't care about what you look like. I care about you first, not what you look like. If you would like me to care about what you look like as it relates to XYZ thing here, I will also care about that. What I care about first and foremost is you. What I care about is not how you look or how you sound or whatever. I care about you, the person. And then we move forward to make the world a better place for all people. Okay? So I will let you engage one time. You have one response to that in good faith. But I care about people first and policy should follow.
Yes. And also, like, if these people get their way, and they already are, because like you said,
you said, okay, but did you mean we? You said he can't have the safety of people without policy. Wrong. Policy is a construct created by people to enact what they believe is the law, which obviously doesn't fucking matter. The president is playing with it every fucking day because it's not real. The only reason you think it's real is because we're all adhering to it. But if we don't all adhere to it, it's really not that real, is it? So policy is a modern day invention. Yes, you can have structures and frameworks. Human beings have existed for a long time. It doesn't have to come in the form of policy. It has to come it has to be utilized as a framework rather than a policy first and foremost. The reason America sucks so badly is because its framework is fucked. It's built on genocide and rape and taking advantage of people and exploitation. So anything you worry about policy-wise, you're working in a bad framework. And I'm saying that's why we're talking about dismantling the system. Taylor is basically working within the system to fight the system. She's using what do they say, the master's tools, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I can't get behind that because you're just playing games with bad people. But you do that. You do you, girl. I'm saying dismantle it. Take it down. It's not working. The framework is bad. But of course, the framework maintains because people want it. It's like people want it. And that's the part we have to contend with philosophically.
One of the reasons why these weird niche forums are taking off is because people are now being pushed off the mainstream social media platforms. Because as all of the, Section 230 advocates, as all of the people who are against bad internet bills will tell you, if you pass these laws and if you force the major platforms to be challenged under like these lawsuits around liability, what's going to happen is all of the bad actors are going to migrate to places that are not in the jurisdiction, that do not fall under the laws. You're just going to have like worse websites than ever before because now people can't get content that is actually moderated, content on platforms like Reddit, for example. Like all of the adult content on Reddit is being scrubbed at like an alarming rate for a lot of like adult content creators. And instead of having these options that are more like heavily moderated, now people are going to the Telegram group chats and they're getting more illicit content and they're being driven into more like extreme places that the laws in the United States cannot touch. So that is the result.
Yeah, it's like, these same people like Layla Mickelwait and these other, Christian nationalist types, they want to ban OnlyFans, right? They're against OnlyFans, they're against like adult content creators, etc. And when you do that, when you take away that consensual content that frankly, the content creator themselves can profit off of.
I mean, I agree with this. And there's still things that are in place to make things go forward. Like that's the problem is like, I agree. Like I am deeply concerned about those things going away. Even if I never use the websites, I'm like deeply concerned with all of that. And it only exists because of capitalism. Like the sites only work because it's a capitalistic way for these businesses. Like OnlyFans takes a 20% hit, a 20% cut from every creator because do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not good. It's just there. It's not even great. It just exists. I'm saying you're I think this is why I just don't like this bubble because it's not focused on the long term. And I get it. How can you focus on the long term when Brittany thinks of long term as like 2,000 years from now? And most people think like in the next 20 years. To me, My work, I'm hoping to contribute to something that will like focus on 2,000 years from now, right? And the same way we read the Bible, or we read literature, or we're reading Tao, or we're reading anything from Buddhism, we're reading something that's, you know, ancient in many ways, like things that, well, not ancient, but you know what I mean? So I feel like there's that like irony to it that always makes me feel so annoyed with this bubble, where it's like, I want to get on board with you, but also we've already done this 1,000 times. We've done this for so long. Minorities know we've done this for so long. Every single time you just promise us, work with us. We promise we won't leave you behind. But you all do at the end of the day, because we can't play your game the same way, because that's why capitalism, 80% of autistic people are unemployed. You know what I mean? Like neurodivergent people struggle in capitalism. Like disabled people don't even have representation. Like, oh, it looks like freedom to have a disabled woman show up at the Met Gala, but like she's still at the Met Gala. You know what I mean? Oh, it looks like, you know, a liberation. Like liberation does not look like finally making it in capitalism. Or finally being able to have the weird porn I want to watch. Like liberation isn't about weird porn. It's about something deeper. It's about dignity. It's about treating people with dignity. It's about living in a world where we're dignified, where we're not being weaponized, where our bodies aren't a part of your policy making, where our lives aren't something for you to debate. You know what I mean?
The woman can profit directly off of, then yeah, people are, listen, they're not going to stop consuming adult content. They are going to go to these darker corners of the internet that aren't regulated, that are potentially include, you know, harmful content that is made unconsensually, content that depicts criminal activity, et cetera, and content that the women involved in it are not compensated for, right? If men are getting the content from these like harmful Telegram groups, they could just be paying an OnlyFans creator. They could just be watching.
But that, Taylor, that's already happening in porn industries right now. Women have been screaming about the porn industry because it is taking cuts from creators, including men. The industry as a whole is taking cuts from actors and actresses on a whole, no matter their gender, at such a rate that it's very difficult. So I'm saying the industry, the porn industry is a capitalistic industry. It needs to be dismantled. Then we need to uplift and promote sex workers, okay? But the industry as a whole is still a mechanism of capitalism. It still operates within that framework.
Adult content on a normal website, except now they can't because they have to input their biometric data and it's tied to their government ID forever. So it's like, I think we're actually creating, you know, these systems of harm. But as you mentioned, it's not about addressing any of the harm. It's not about tracking down any of these men. It's not about prosecuting the men or leading education campaigns to sort of educate people about this stuff and about these crimes. It's about, let's censor the whole internet.
But the way these TikTokers read the articles, they did feel like they were getting educated. They did feel like, oh, I didn't even think about people taking videos of people. I can't believe this woman's husband raped and drugged her. Like, women are getting married to men that they don't even think to ask questions to, which is why I always promote, like with my dating content, I always say, like, ask these questions on a first date because I know you're going to forget to, right? Like, it did help a lot of people. I feel like that's the part of it that I can't help but see is how much good that article created in terms of the discourse about protecting yourself.
Remove adult content from the internet. And we have these dumb leftist and liberal influencers going along with it, leading the charge along with anti-LGBTQ, anti-woman, anti-abortion hate groups.
There's also this like
all by myself, don't wanna be a liberal leftist, dumb all by myself.
pseudoscientific strain that has really emerged, and the CNN article features this as well. This idea that sexual violence is a direct result of adult content and that the behavior is actually linked to the viewership of adult content, which is not true. And if that were true, then sexual violence would have only existed after the invention of the internet. Like, I just am like, how do people fall for this argument? Do you think that men thousands of years ago were learning about sexual violence from adult websites? Of course not. Of course not. But like, and in fact,
well, but they were learning about relationships with women through a fantasy of patriarchy, which is displayed in porn. Porn is inherently patriarchal, and it needs to be reworked to not be that way. And I think there's a safe way to have consensual fantasies play out in a way that, had it in any way been real, would have been deeply problematic, right? So I think the thing I would say is that I find that in conservative bubbles, predatory behavior is more likely because consent is neglected. their sex education does come through porn, and they're not given the right tools to learn about sex in a consensual manner. And so that they do kind of grow up watching porn and thinking like, oh, this is what women want. And they don't know. That's why people on the internet have been specifically, especially women of color, have been specifically speaking out about how men talk about sex. Cracked, hit, what's the other one, guys? What's the other ones? Like the language they use to say that I've had sex with a woman. You know, like we're talking about all of this language. A lot of it does come from a lot of like porn or adult adjacent bubbles. Smash, that's a good one. And I get it, like, you know, smash or pass, like smash, railed, yeah, bagged, like beat, yeah, like a lot of them, like I'm gonna beat it up, you know, like a lot of, I get it, like it's kind of memey, like sometimes I use it as a meme, but then I realize like if I keep using it unironically, has the meme now just become my vocabulary? Oh no. And then I gotta like rework it and be like, no. The same way I always tell people, don't shame vanilla sex. Stop getting on YouTube and talking about like, oh, vanilla sex is so lame. There's nothing wrong with vanilla sex. It's great. Missionary is great. Any sex you have with your partner is great. Heck, no sex is great. You know, we're so sex obsessed and sex repressed. And that's the problem in all of these bubbles. And I do think it ends up, see, this is what I say about leftists when they talk about policy or structure or framework. They forget that it all comes back to the individual. This is why I'm annoyed with leftists who talk about class consciousness when it comes to racism. Like, sure, do I think like racism will be easier to combat in socialism? Yeah, but do I think socialism is going to happen without combating racism? Not in the US. Not in the US. We don't live in a country, guys. Living in Croatia is the most surreal experience. People look Croatian here. Like people look different. Like it's like when I see British people, I'm like, oh yeah, you British, bro. When I see Americans, like guys, I will be walking in Croatia and I never think, oh, this is an American. They don't look like white people in America. The white people in America don't look like the white people here. They look different. The bone structure is different. The way they walk is different. Like I almost never see a white American, but when I spot one, I'm like, ooh, is that an American? Oh yeah, it's a US baby, US baby. Like they look different. So when I'm engaging in Croatia, Croatia is a nationalist country in that sense where like they're Croatians. Okay, everyone here is basically Croatian. So it's easier to get things going. Like in Croatia, my partner always says like, we're not monsters. Of course we have abortion. You know what I mean? Because the US is so like people look at like the US like it's insane. We're arguing about abortion. You know what I mean? And so like that's what I'm saying. Like when we have these conversations, the US is never going to get to where you want it to be because the experiment that started as the US started at the expense of the indigenous people and in the enslaved population that are given zero credit and are actually blamed for the reason why America is struggling today. They still blame indigenous communities and they still blame Black communities for the reason America is struggling. Even though, do you know what I'm saying? You're not going to get there. You have to have a belief that everyone is valuable, and then we can talk about everything after. So it's just annoying. So this conversation just feels really silly to me. Like, why are you mad at leftists and liberals, and why aren't you mad at the Republicans? You know what I mean? Why aren't you using this as an opportunity to tell us? Because like all we saw and all we cared about was that rape victims were finally being heard. Wow, what a fucking refresher that was. You know what I mean?
Like the idea that they're only doing it because they watch adult content completely ignores the men's agency or the perpetrator, whatever, regardless of gender. It ignores the perpetrator's agency in the fact that they are going to do this because it's a means of like power and abuse. And it oftentimes, most times has like nothing to do with them watching adult content. But this idea that like it's the fault of adult content, that sexual violence is because of adult content is like so harmful, but becoming such a prolific strain of thought in these like leftist spaces. And I'm just like, you guys are losing it. You guys are like becoming right-wing conservative fundamentalists, like Christian fundamentalists. I think.
Oh my God, relax. Be so fucking for real right now. be so fucking for real.
There's just a lot of Christian fundamentalism that has made its way into the online left specifically
Oh my
in a
God.
really dangerous way,
Oh
where they
my
really start to just sort of
God.
take these things at face value, as you said. I think because
Oh
it's
my God.
corporations.
Oh my
And so they're
God.
like, okay, big corporations bad, big tech bad. Therefore, Christian fundamentalists who are against big tech for really dangerous reasons are like on my side, and I'm going to sort of adopt this framework. And they're Puritans. It's really scary. And I think that these people should be very careful about who they're getting in bed with. Like, especially with the rise of like AI content, I'm thinking of non-consensual AI content and all this stuff. Like, we want to create solutions to these problems that protect people's autonomy and liberty and free expression and open access to information. And I mean, you and I have talked about this before too, but like, there's a lot of money right now in the anti-AI movement. As I just texted you recently to there's a lot of money, there's billions of dollars in the anti-AI movement right now. And a lot of it is from Christian fundamentalists or far right groups or groups that will happily partner with anti-LGBTQ hate groups. And they're shaping these conversations and they're like, look, we all hate AI. Great. I'd love to regulate AI. I use some AI tools, but like, overwhelmingly, AI is not being used to like liberate us. It's being used for profit. And I say that even as somebody that like, again, occasionally does use these tools. Like, so it's like, we want to regulate AI, but we have to be so careful because, we shouldn't be listening to Exodus cry about AI policy. And yet that's who's driving tech regulation. That's who's driving the conversation around tech policy right now.
Yes.
Sure, I get it. But again, it's always been this way. Minority communities have always genuinely been advocating for something good. And I do think that Taylor is being kind of a centrist right now, but okay. So here's what's happening. Here's how I see Taylor's work respectfully. Okay. Conservatives. Okay. Taylor, leftists. Okay. So they're saying, hey, we should actually just do it the right way the first time around. Leftists are saying, just do the right thing the first time around. Taylor's like, well, we can't. So we have to play ball with these people. But I'm going to yell at you instead of yelling at them. And I'm saying, Taylor, don't yell at them for wanting to protect rape victims. Yell at them for weaponizing rape victims against them. Like, you're mad at the left for reading a CNN article and watching the interviews of rape victims and feeling empathy? The fuck is wrong with you? We watched this woman cry on camera telling us about her husband rapes her 10 years. And you're like, you fucking idiot, stupid bitch. Like, and I'm like sitting here like, what the fuck are you mad at me for? What did I do? You're the one, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you yelling at me for? Go yell at CNN or go yell at the fucking Republicans. Why are you yelling at me? And that's what you're doing. You just said that dumb liberal leftists. Oh my God, God forbid we see a woman cry about her rape and we care. Jesus Christ, lock in.
You shared this, Taylor, and I've talked about this before, and I wrote about this for my newsletter, but like there's like an anti-AI group that was like started, or like one of the founding members is a correspondent on Steve Bannon's War Room, and Steve Bannon.
Also, I was being derogatory towards myself. I called myself a bitch. Don't call women a bitch. I wasn't calling her a bitch. I was calling me a bitch in the hypothetical.
Has like pushed this group really, really hard. And they are in support of Ron DeSantis's AI Bill of Rights in Florida. And Ron DeSantis has like his whole, like that, the people championing that bill have referred to opponents as digital Epsteins. Steve Bannon.
Well, no, Chad says she's a liberal, not a leftist. She is a leftist because leftist by definition starts at anti-capitalism. That's what we've learned this month. So no, Taylor does get to call herself a leftist. As long as you're anti-capitalist, you're a leftist. Right? That was the whole conversation we've had. See, we are the minority community that's like, anti-patriarchy, anti-racism, anti-capitalism. That's where your leftism starts. She says she's a leftist, right? That's her positioning. So that's what I'm saying. So that's why I'm like, you might be an anti-capitalist, but what does that matter? That's the part of it that I'm like, no, you need to be anti all the three, trifecta. Patriarchy, racism, capitalism. Okay?
Was a close associate of Jeffrey Epstein. Steve Bannon was one of the last people Jeffrey Epstein ever texted to cancel a lunch meeting that they had planned to the day that Epstein was arrested in 2019. Steve Bannon was literally trying to rehabilitate Jeffrey Epstein's reputation and like met with him frequently and talked to him all the time. And you're telling me that like this guy is opposed to like digital Epsteins. Like you're literally working with an Epstein associate.
Wait. I fact checked myself. I'm fact checking myself. There is a chance that she hasn't actually explicitly identified. Wait a second. Am I watching the wrong? Am I misunderstanding Taylor? Because why am I even watching this? Wait, lock in, Brittany. Wait, is Taylor not an identified anti-capitalist? Hold on. Because if she's not an anti-capitalist, why are we watching her or listening to anything she says about anything? I thought she was an anti-capitalist. That's why I was watching her. Wait.
is a liberal reporter. Wait. Am I fucking stupid? I might be so dumb. Why am I even watching her? Why am I even listening to anything she says? It says that she definitely identified as an anti-capitalist. Well, the AI overview says she hasn't explicitly said it, but has she? What's the deal with Taylor Lorenz's new Wired article? I swear to God, I thought she said she's an anti-capitalist. You said that's Fox News? Okay, then, okay. And maybe we can get any Taylor, like huge Taylor. I unsubscribe from her. I go back and forth, so maybe I missed it. Is she not an anti-capitalist? Hold on. Why rich people use the internet differently. Hold on. I swear to, because this is important. Like how you foundationally stand for stuff matters. Hold on. Taylor Lorenz, anti-capitalist. It's the rise and fall of rainbow capitalism. See, okay, the creator economy is a scam. The $1 billion propaganda campaign hiding in sight. See, look, I subscribed to her live stream recently because I saw this video. Where is it? Here. It was really good, this video. But that's what I'm saying. Like, is she not an anti-capitalist? I'm unsubscribing again. I will find her videos at a different time. Is she not an anti-capitalist? I'm so confused. Where is she? Is she in my chat right now? Taylor, are you watching? Are you an anti-capitalist? I'm just confused, bro. So if she's not an anti-capitalist, okay, let's finish this fucking video.
Right. They're calling people that oppose this specific AI regulation pedophiles, groomers, digital Epsteins.
According to my Discord, who shared a Brave search, based on the provided search context, Taylor Lorenz is widely characterized as an anti-capitalist and a fervent leftist. That's what I thought. Self-identification in 2023, Lorenz stated, "I would love to see an entire anti-capitalist revolution on the internet." Then why does it always sound like she's fucking fighting so hard for these tech companies? Yeah, she's the kind of anti-capitalist that, see, I thought she was an anti-capitalist, but why does she sound... Maybe she's a logically anti-capitalist, but not embodied, which I get it. I've been there too. You got to really embody it. Maybe she's not like Hassan. I don't think Hassan is an embodied anti-capitalist. Do you know what I'm saying? So maybe she and him are very similar in this way, where it's very logically anti-capitalist, but they're not embodying anti-capitalism. They're not embodying it. So maybe that's what's happening, and that's why I'm confused.
All of this stuff that we saw them try to leverage against trans people, right? Like against women. It's just this like sort of constant effort to stigmatize anybody that speaks out against their far-right Christian nationalist policies. Is like, well, you want to endanger the children. You want children to be, trafficked. You want women to be trafficked and abused. And it's like, no, actually, I don't. I want those people held accountable. But you guys are far-right Christian nationalists. I don't think you want those things. I think you just want to censor and mass surveil the internet and build a structure of control, because ultimately what you want is to control women, control children, control LGBTQ people. And yet these leftists, I mean, that group especially, right? Like they had this whole thing in Brooklyn. Like they have gotten all of these leftists. Bernie Sanders is doing Bernie Sanders is
Bernie Sanders, I mean, oh God.
Is promoting the rhetoric of these people and
he's a Zionist.
Events with people that are adjacent to this movement.
That's so crazy. In 2020, during an interview with the New York Times editorial board, Bernie Sanders said he did not believe he had any apps on his phone. He does not know what an app is. Like this man, poor Bernie Sanders, is being misled.
I love Bernie Sanders. Like I vote, I wanted him to win in 2016. Okay. Like I trust him on like labor policy, whatever. The man is like in his 80s. He has not led the way on tech policy. Like he has no idea what's going on. And like, he's like directionally, like that's the thing. It's like, he's directionally right that there are issues with AI, but he has no technological literacy to like navigate this stuff. And I think that's true of a lot of the left. I think a lot of the left, like they fundamentally, because they sort of conflate, well, I mean, technology is run by corporations, right? But they don't engage with these tools. They don't understand these platforms. They don't understand how it works. They've been completely checked out of the tech policy debate for the past decade. Most of them don't even know what FOSTA SESTA is. And they're out here opining about Section 230.
Yes. No, if you don't know what FOSTA SESTA is, if you don't know who sponsored the Kids Online Safety Act and what she said about it, if you don't know this stuff, you have no business talking about Section 230. Like, literally shut up. It reminds me, like, when people spread like the rhetoric of victim blaming, when leftists spread this rhetoric in like the Amber Heard case, for example, I'm just like, if you can't tell me like what Darvo means, like shut the hell up. You are better off quiet than you are like trying to weigh in on these issues that you do not comprehend.
Well, they're also like rewarded for it because it makes you seem like you're tough. Like, I mean, I think of like the CNN article, and I think back to an article that I did years ago, a few articles I've done over the years, where it's like, in some cases, I'm just like sort of repackaging something that some special interest group gave you, and your editor's like, hey, can you write this up for the New York Times or whatever? It's a report from the Center for Countering Digital Hate. And you're like writing up like, oh, teens are getting bullied online or whatever, you know, like, or there's hate speech or whatever, which is bad. But that gets like weaponized, but you're rewarded. You're rewarded like, oh my God, you're tough reporting on that. And it's like, did I do tough reporting? It seems like the story was kind of handed to me, or like in this case, right? The CNN story, it's like, well, Layla Mickelwait did all of this for you, basically. You like, sounds like chased down some men, didn't ultimately find them, didn't ultimately do anything, aggregated a bunch of stories that were already like public, that, you know, that these women's like, it's terrible that Italian lawmaker was assaulted by her colleague. What does that have to do with any of this? And then you package it, and then what? You win an award, and then you're a good journalist. And it's like, because you've manufactured consent for censorship and surveillance.
And then what is really getting on my nerves lately is then people are like, anyone who opposes KOSA is probably getting paid by Meta. Or like, you guys, how much are the big tech companies paying you guys, is like a comment that I see all the time. And I'm like, not only are we not getting paid, not only are we probably losing like paid opportunities because we're willing to talk about this stuff, but also the people pushing like KOSA are being paid so much money to do these campaigns. Like, these are such highly funded campaigns.
Can we just talk about the fact that yet another AI safety group was revealed to be funded by Elon Musk today? The other biggest online safety coalition for AI was revealed to be funded by OpenAI. The Digital Childhood Alliance, one of the main child safety groups that's been involved in all the state legislation, is funded by Meta. Meta is using the fact that they lost in California, the social media addiction trial, to
Yeah, I agree with Chad. Says this feels like a Venn Zoom call between friends. Yeah, that's what it sounds like too. It just sounds like I'm confused on how this is helping me understand the problem. Like, I get it. Let me, again, for anyone who's fucking not listening, I agree with Taylor and Kat on what they're saying principally. I agree. This is a bad video. Again, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. And though I think they have them, I don't hear a lot of really deeply understood, held beliefs as it relates to how these policies often throw everyone under the bus, but explicitly the way she is blaming leftists and liberals for even caring about rape victims is crazy tone deaf. In a world where like we didn't see any justice about the Epstein files or any justice having Trump as the president, like it just feels so weird. Like this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in like, did you guys just wake up? Are you not are you so in your tech bubble? You are not paying attention to how this story has been weaponized to say that rape isn't important and that we should not pay attention to it and women are not being that raped. And remember when Sargon of Akkad tweeted at that lady because she was talking about like rape and he was like, don't worry, I would never rape you. And he was like, what? And I'm like, you can't show up in the world and act this way and think you're a good person. And then quote, act like, oh, it's free speech. I can do this. You know what I mean? Like we have to live in a world where at some point the adults in the room can say no. Okay. Drewski doing whiteface to make fun of Erica Kirk is not the same thing if Jake Paul does blackface. Jake Paul saying, oh, this is great. We should all be funny together. I should do blackface. No, you can't do blackface. Okay. We don't live in that world. We live in a different one. Okay. I want to live in a world where we can be hyper vigilant about promoting the right information, but you have to do it in a way that doesn't throw marginalized people under the bus. Okay. So it is different. So again, us acting like we don't live in a world where it's different. Everyone who goes, oh, if the genders were reversed, you can't because men are not opposite of women. Women are not opposite of men. We don't exist in the same construct. You cannot say, oh, if the genders were reversed. That's not an argument. That's just you misunderstanding the whole point of why these things happen to women or to men or to people who identify as whatever. Like even gender itself is a construct. We're playing off of constructs. We've been, you know, since the moment we're born into existence, before we've even come into existence, people have already decided our life for us. And I'm saying we're not even close to getting where we need to really be, but this definitely isn't going to help. You know what I mean? Like go after the conservatives, go after the right people, but it just feels very strange to me.
push the App Store Accountability Act, which would completely remove anonymous internet use for everyone. But then these people online, I think they just like, they can't, I don't know. It's like this level of nuance that they can't grasp, where it's like, no, the reason that you have this reactionary belief, the reason that you think KOSA is good is because you have fallen for all of the propaganda. That money.
Okay, so don't blame them, right? Like, explain it. So, because like, again, I agree with her. Like, I would very much like to know who's funding what policy, who's doing what, because they always make it sound better than it is, right? And I'm saying that is a tool of the right. So why are you making, like, that's the problem is like, I feel, okay, if you tell people and they don't learn, that's one thing. But if they don't know and you're saying, I can't believe you're so stupid, you fell for the propaganda that billionaires have been funding and that millions of dollars are being put into tricking you, you're just victim blaming. Why are you victim blaming instead of telling them? And then if you tell them and they educate themselves and then they still pick it, well, now they're just making a decision. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, these billionaires, this is what I'm saying. Do you care about what you're doing enough to make sure the people on your side are actually like not falling for propaganda? Or are you just going to point your finger and be like, idiots, I can't believe they fell for propaganda. This is stupid. And then, you know, it doesn't make sense.
The money is being spent to make you have these beliefs, and you have them, and it worked.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the Blake Lively and Amber Heard cases where it's like it's nearly impossible to convince someone that they have been manipulated once they have already like bought into it. And I feel like there's a quote about that where it's like a famous quote where it's like it's very difficult to convince a conned person that they've been conned because you've already bought in. And particularly with stories like this, again, this is why they use propaganda like 62 Million Men are in a academy, because it is so emotionally like intense that once you believe that, you can't unbelieve it. Once you have experienced like an emotional.
Exactly, chat. Chat said it gives red button vibes. Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly the metaphor. Because I'm being very blue button right now. I'm being very blue button and she's being very red button right now. That's exactly what it feels like.
Reaction to something like that, you're actually going to be furious a lot of the time if someone tells you that you're wrong. And like these groups know that, they play off of it. It's very emotionally manipulative. But perfect example of this, there were all of these there were viral TikToks about these like fake misinformation, and then there were people trying to combat it, and they were the ones getting canceled.
Yeah, because again, when you try to combat it, like now it seems like what, you don't believe, you know, rape victims, you don't believe like abuse. You're trying.
Do you? Do you believe them? Do you? Because if I showed a group of assault victims or rape victims this video, I think it'd be fair of them to wonder. Because my parents also say they care about rape victims, but they talk like you do. Do you know what I'm saying? The way you are talking sounds similar to the way conservatives talked my whole life. Well, actually, what's the fact though? Are you even a man or a woman? Like, what's the science? But like, what is the actual facts though? Like, what is it though? Like, can we use like facts? And I'm like, you're not using facts. And like, that's the thing. What is a fact? Like, that's what you're doing. And I'm giving you a chance to not do it because I would not want to believe you are doing that. But that is what you're doing.
To minimize abuse, you know, you're trying to defend a big tech platform. You're trying to defend like corporations not having responsibility. It's like, no, none of that.
One of those TikTokers who was getting like so much backlash for being.
And by the way, one of the red flag rhetoric I heard from this conversation was, this really does a disservice to real victims. Guys, that's a dog whistle for conservatism. A lot of victims fall for it. A lot of rape victims fall for it themselves, where they'll get online and say, this really hurts real rape victims. Guys, that at this point, the only people who say that are the same people who are going to vote for Trump and or talk about how much they hate Trump, but they also hate feminists. Don't say stuff like that. Because a rape victim is a rape victim. There's no such thing as a real rape victim. You are a rape victim or you're not. And real rape victims have differing opinions. So I would like to say instead, from my perspective as an assault victim, this is how I would prefer people prioritize and talk about assault victims in any capacity, and that's centering the victim and then following suit instead of well, I'm sorry you were raped, but anyways, we're talking about facts. You know, it's like in the same way I don't want to watch men debate women about their assaults. I don't want even women to need to feel a need to bring up their assault to prove their point. But we're taught that I have to bring up my assault to prove my point. I'm saying I shouldn't have to bring it up to prove my point. Oh, were you even raped though? Do we even know? Like, both are bad, guys. We shouldn't be doing this. Okay? We should be instead saying, I wish this video, which could have been beautifully made, could have centered the fact that victims of rape exist, that this website probably does, and or some websites have been found to have victims of rape on it. And even more than that, there absolutely are groups of men absolutely talking about ways to rape their wives. That is real. That happens. Okay? And if I was Taylor Lorenz, I'd say, and these are so serious that we need to talk about it from a policy perspective. Right now, the conservatives are weaponizing your very well-placed empathy and using it to trick you into voting against your rights. Let's get the facts straight so we can protect rape victims and ourselves against this propaganda. Instead, it's, you're so stupid. I can't believe you fell for this propaganda. What an idiot. Kill yourself. That's what you sound like. I'm being hyperbolic to prove a point.
Like, there aren't 62 million men in Academy. He literally did a TikTok where he read the entire CNN article out loud from start to finish, and
he's talking about Christian Divine.
Still getting attacked.
Or she's talking about.
Like, that just kind of tells you the whole thing. Like, people don't want to hear it.
Well, they don't want to know the truth of it, right? Like, this is the same thing of like,
oh my God. Oh my God.
When you try to explain FOSTA testing, you try to explain it, like, they just don't want to engage in the truth. They have this emotional kind of reaction to things. They have an emotional.
Oh, okay. Okay. But you see how I just did it? You see how I just did it, Habibi? Oh, but now am I still emotional? I just did it, girly. I just did it for you. I just did it for you. I just gave you the one way you could have started off this video that would have changed the whole conversation. Christian Divine, him too. Go fuck yourself. You, who I like, could have just started your video off with, but instead, what was he forced to do? Share personal information about his own life in order to feel, quote, validated in the conversation. And I'm sick of people having to do this. I don't need to know anything about your past life for you to focus on the one thing. I just did it. It takes one sentence to change the whole way someone has a conversation. Guys, this is what good marriages are as well. Good friendships are. The difference between a bad marriage and a good marriage can be how you start off a conversation, how you start off a sentence. Hey, I love you. I've been really worried about you. And I wondered, is it okay if we talk about that? Versus, bro, you've been a really big pain in the ass lately. And honestly, bummer, dude. It makes me want to divorce you. See how those things are different? See how they're different? The way you start off a conversation, it matters. It's like, yo, you know what I mean? You got to start it off right.
Connection with things, and it's just,
which is a skill we're all learning.
It's really hard to break people out, but I'm so glad for people like you and others, you know, that are doing the work and that are like fighting the good fight, because it is so scary. We are going to lose our rights. I'm like horrified by it, and so I just like really appreciate you coming on and chatting about all this.
I'm glad that there's a platform to talk about it. I'm like, wow, when we're all in the Trump camps because we posted about like abortion rights in a positive way, like I'm like, we're gonna have such amazing conversations in the anti-women labor camps.
I can't wait.
No, Chat said, Taylor is a journalist combating anti-230 propaganda from well-intentioned TikTokers, and it seems Brittany's more focused on DV and rape aspect. She's deriving malicious intent from Taylor. I'm going to say it one last fucking time. Taylor obviously has the best fucking intent. The road to hell is paved in good intentions. Thank you for having good intentions, Taylor. What's the point of it if it throws rape victims under the bus? I'm saying I see no maliciousness from Taylor, which is why this is such a problem. She's not malicious. That's what I'm saying. She's not malicious. Lock in, chat. You've been there the whole time you've been here. Lock the fuck in. You are a good person. It doesn't matter. What's the point of being a good person if it ends up with this as the aftermath? So much for being a good person. That's what I'm saying. Taylor has no malicious intent. So why the fuck was this a video you made? Because good people make bad content, myself included. I have, with so many good intentions, made very similar content to Taylor in the past. And I'm trying to right those wrongs by being like, nope, we don't do this anymore. I don't do this anymore. You don't do this anymore. We center victims first. We make sure that is clear, and we are not debating it. Then we talk about what to do now. We do not and ever give power to people to in any way victimize people or discount their essay or discount any of the bad things that have happened to them. First, you validate. Then we talk about what to do. Not buts, not okay, not she downplayed rape the whole time. She downplayed abuse the whole time. All of her language was downplaying sexual assault the whole time. With her good intentions, she downplayed assault the whole fucking time.
I think that they're going to surveil us. I don't even think we're going to have free speech in the camps, Kat. There's going to be like a Palantir choke collar on us. All right, Kat, well, thank you so much again for joining.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
And I did not see what was so funny about this. They were laughing and giggling. Like, girlies, please lock in and come to work, okay? Okay, let's see. Let's see what the top comments are now. Refreshing top comments for her video. Let's see. Okay. The idea that a criminal network could have 62 million members without any leaks or whistleblowers is straightforwardly absurd. It's the same logic you should apply to conspiracy theories. 1% of that number would be large enough. Okay, but isn't that the same thing people thought about Epstein? Isn't that the same thing people think about everything? Again, you're talking about like, oh my God, this is the craziest thing. Like, how could this ever happen? Yeah, what are you talking about? It happens all the time. And there are leaks, there are problems. You're acting like victims get justice. When you say this, you're using the same rhetoric that makes people go like, guys, if people were being raped this much, we would know about it. Guys, you're acting like rape victims don't come out with their stories. What is am I being fucking, is this the 90s again? Am I being gaslit by people? You know what I mean? This is insane to me. This is insane to me that you're not understanding this is the same rhetoric that conservatives are using to say, if this was happening, we'd literally know. Yeah, chat, just go to the cops. The fact that Taylor fucking Lorenz said go to the police, I'm telling you right now, these fucking people on the internet really think they're leftists. They really think they're fucking, go to the police? Oh, if these men really did something, I'm sure you can go to the police. Go to the police? Habibi, what? What is that crazy? Let's see, you don't need to make this shit up in the world where cases like Giselle Pellico exist. Well, that's the thing. They do exist, so we know it's real. But you didn't think it was real before Giselle. You didn't. You did not. If I told you a woman was being raped by over 50 men and her husband was facilitating it, you'd say there's no fucking way. If I told you a man drugged his wife, took pictures of her and raped her, and let 50 different men come into their home to rape her, you would say no fucking way. You wouldn't believe it. People still don't believe it to today. People don't believe her story. Yeah, thank you so much for the super chat. That it's been rough, sending some extra love. Y'all, yeah, so thank you. Appreciate that. Member for how long? 35 months. Holy fuck, girl. You live here. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is why I'm frustrated. Chat said it was 72 men. There you go. I already downplayed it. 72 men. That's what I'm saying. You would never have bought it. You would say this impossible. She didn't know. How did she know? I don't get it. All these years, she must have known at some point. That's what I'm saying. Stop downplaying it. Stop downplaying it. Anyway, disappointed in Taylor. Not surprised, though. It is what it is. Wishing her the best. Genuinely wishing Kat the best. Look, I know it's hard out here. Our jobs are weird. People watch our content. You feel like you're not being seen. I know what I'm doing here. I'm sure you know what you're doing over there. I can't agree with this. Promote this. Subscribe to this. Be excited for this video. I just think it was so unnecessarily cruel. And I always will support victims first. And everything comes after that. People first. Politics second. Okay? People first, politics second. Member, Key says, 34 months a member. I moved in after Yayo. So, once again, this is our crime syndicate. Our crime syndicate of feeding people. These are all the members. We have a group of how to feed people. It was horrible. That was horrible. That was a horrible video, and I really fucking hated it. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it so much. If Taylor sees this video, I'm wishing you the best, honestly. No hard feelings, but honestly, take that video down. Make a new one. Make a better one. And center victims first, okay? Fuck. All right. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Love you. Bye. Love you non-parasocially, of course. Love you non-toxically, of course. Love you, but not like a culty way. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it. Bye.